have lost 6 games this year. Since that loss to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, the Chiefs have 6 losses. The Bengals lost their 6th game this year last night. It was a shocking stat, but they've won 14 in a row, and it wouldn't be 6, right? It'd be 6 since they beat the Eagles. Since they beat Cincinnati, yeah.
I think
so,
it's 9. Or
yeah,
like
it would be. I'd go back and look. I should probably find the Pete Sweeney tweet because that would be 2 years of football. Man, if they were only a couple losses, but I got to find this lock at a century at a week. The Bengals have lost many games this season, and the Chiefs have lost since the last time the Bengals beat the Chiefs on December 4th, 2022. Okay, there it is. Sorry.
That is still...
It's still a phenomenal stat of the day, of the week,
nearly
of the season, of the century.
Years. December, it's November 8th.
There were 2 crazy stats that I saw this week. That was one of them. That one I butchered. This one I will get right because I was going to use it as one of my...
Chef.
Thank you. I was going to use one of my learned funniest bests on Monday.
But it's not the weekend. Didn't happen over the weekend.
It did happen over the weekend. The stat did that I saw.
Okay.
But this was the stat that I retweeted today is one of the 2 craziest stats I've seen in a long time, and both of them were this week. One of them was Sunday. The Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls between Daniel Jones' most recent touchdown passes at MetLife Stadium.
That is absurd. Well, he missed a year with injury, though, right?
No, he threw a touchdown pass at home before the last game of the season.
Yeah.
When the Chiefs ended up beating the Eagles.
Yes.
He did not throw a touchdown pass last year.
Well, the year prior,
and then he threw
was
his
injured,
first touchdown
right?
pass. Yeah, but he played last year.
Yeah.
But he threw his first touchdown pass at home on Sunday.
That's insane.
That between touchdown passes at home for Daniel Jones, the Chiefs have not won but 2 Super Bowl victories. And this one where the Chiefs have lost as many games, 6, since the last time the Bengals beat the Chiefs on December 4th, 2022, as the Bengals do this season alone.
I think my favorite one was, who's the Pro Football Talk guy? What's his name?
Mike Florio.
Yeah, that dude says the biggest winner tonight, the Chiefs. With each Bengals loss, they come closer to not having to face their kryptonite in the playoffs, Joe Burrow. And I quote tweeted it because I wanted to do some research on this because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Because Joe Burrow's beaten Mahomes one time in the playoffs.
It's true, but he is still the only active player to do that.
One time, but apparently that leads to being your kryptonite, right?
Yeah.
So I said, is that meaning that Jake Plummer is Tom Brady's kryptonite? Because this is the exact same thing. Jake Plummer beat Tom Brady one time in the playoffs. Is Jake Plummer?
See, I would say it would be Eli and the Giants.
No, because
like
that's
in
too good, though.
Right, but
because
in reality,
Eli won 2 Super Bowls.
Right, no, in reality, that would be true.
That would be true.
That would be to where if you said Eli is Tom Brady's kryptonite in the playoffs in the Super Bowl.
But that's apples to oranges.
Yes, this is absurd because they're 1-1.
Yes, so I want apples to apples.
Right.
Which is a non-Super Bowl, just a playoff game that Jake Plummer beat Tom Brady in. So that must mean Jake Plummer, according to Mike Florio, is now Tom Brady's kryptonite.
Yeah,
so
it's his thing now. It's Mike Florio's thing. Andy Reid's retiring. Patrick Mahomes is probably Travis Kelce's retiring. Patrick Mahomes has lost it. The Bengals are the Chiefs' kryptonite, even though they've beat them. They're 3-1 since they lost in the AFC Championship game at home. They're 3-1 against the Bengals since then. Yes, one of those games was without Joe Burrow. Whatever. Actually,
even funnier, Jake Plummer was the first quarterback to defeat Tom Brady in the postseason. So Jake Plummer really is Joe Burrow.
There it is. Jake Plummer to Tom Brady is Joe Burrow to Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, it's absurd to say the kryptonite. They're 1-1 in the postseason in the AFC Championship game, and both of them came down to 3-point games. One was a loss in overtime, one was a win, essentially at the end of regulation. That was the kickoff and the scramble and the attempt to do something, have a miracle happen there before the Chiefs made the tackle. But still, the Bengals lose last night. They are now 4-6 on the season. Ravens win. They're 6-3. They keep their hopes alive of being in contention for the 1 seed still. The Chiefs would need to lose 4 times for the Ravens to get the 1 seed over the Chiefs. The 1 seed could be decided 9 days from now on November 17th with Chiefs and Bills. Could be decided then. But we saw last night 2 teams that have some issues defensively but also have incredible offenses. We saw two versions of the 2018 Chiefs last night. Like, we saw the 2018, it was a Spider-Man meme, back and forth with all three. 2018 Chiefs, 2024 Ravens and Bengals, just all pointing at each other, except for the Chiefs winning those games like the Bengals are not doing. 2018 Chiefs were winning games, Bengals are not doing. But, like, how they're playing, where they're scoring crazy amount of points and not stopping anybody, and they're getting into these high-flying, high-scoring games, and, a play here or there, a missed call here or there. The ball bounces a certain way, a fumble here or there. Joe Burrow's fumble in week 2, Chase Brown's fumble last night, changing the trajectory of both games this season for the Bengals. I mean, flip those things around. You're talking about the Bengals being 6-4, and they would then be tied with the Ravens at 6-4 with no tiebreaker either way because they would have split the games just on fumbles. Just on a couple of fumbles at inopportune times. Joe Burrow's that ended up being a scoop and score for Shamari Connor, and they had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, limiting what the Ravens were doing offensively and putting points on the board, and then Chase Brown fumbles. And things changed from that point forward. The Ravens clicked, turned it on. Lamar Jackson had a perfect passer rating in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
He has
great.
He and Joe Burrow have been amazing this year with their numbers. Like, Joe Burrow was phenomenal last night. That throw that he hit Jamar Chase in the back of the end zone, that to tie the game up or win,
Yes.
like barely over the hands of two defenders, while not being too high for Jamar Chase, who isn't 6'4", to go up and grab it and still be in bounds. The dime he dropped to Jamar Chase on the long touchdown pass, like Joe Burrow has been phenomenal this year, but he's the 6th betting favorite for MVP because they're 4-6. Lamar Jackson has been phenomenal. He's the betting favorite.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes has fallen the last 4 weeks from number 1 to number 3 in the betting favorite. But I'd be curious to see what happens over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks with Mahomes if he keeps playing the way that he has the last couple of weeks. But we saw a tale of, and we've seen this year, one team that gets all the breaks, according to people outside of reality, that, the Chiefs have the refs in their pocket, but they keep winning these one-score games. They keep winning these close games. And the Bengals have 6 losses this year, 5 of them by 1 score. 5 of their losses are by 1 score. They have lost to the Chiefs and the Ravens twice by a total of 5 points. A total of 5 points. 2 one-point losses and an overtime loss.
Yeah.
And essentially, all 3 of them, come down to a final play, but the 2 losses in regulation, the clock was literally at 0 when the field goal went through the uprights for Butker. And this was, not necessarily win or lose because the Ravens were moving the ball at will, had 2 timeouts and 40 seconds left to go down and get a field goal. But it ain't Justin Tucker of a couple of years ago field goal. All right, it's a little more nip-tucked. Yeah.
Ever since he's
what people thought Travis Kelce was this year.
Well, no, Travis. Ever since he had that thing with Travis Kelce in the playoffs, he's Travis Kelce punked him, and Justin Tucker's not been the same.
Travis Kelce broke him.
No, I'm not kidding.
I must break you.
There has to be at least a tiny sliver of he got punked, and he's not been the same. By the way, Jamar Chase was just ridiculous in this game. Yeah. He is the example of someone that you hate unless he's on your team. Like when Lamar Jackson did his high step kind of look back in the end zone, and then Jamar had this 70-yarder, and he answered, and he's just staring down and kind of just sitting there waiting for someone to come near him. Like, I was laughing because I go, I don't care who wins this game. Tie would be great. Right. But you have to laugh and be like, okay, he's getting you back now. Like, that's a guy that you want on your team.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see that, Cincinnati, a team with so much star power, a great quarterback, probably let's just go top 5 because you have to give credit to Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson as well. But to be a team that constantly loses games like that, really ever since the Super Bowl appearance. I mean, last year you can throw it out the window because Joe Burrow was hurt. They still were able to compete in a handful of games. Honestly, Jake Browning looked fine in a couple of those games. But now it does beg the question of, what is next for Cincinnati? They could still sneak into the postseason, but it's kind of becoming more of an issue of health to me. T. Higgins, if he's out there last night, and just or at least moving forward.
Yeah.
Is this a team that if they get into the postseason, are they good enough to make a run? Because also, if they factor in, though they're 4-6, the 5 losses in 1-score games, their wins this year haven't been impressive. They've been against terrible football teams.
Exactly. They don't have a quality win this year. They've got a ton of quality losses.
Yes.
They don't have a quality win this year.
And again, I think the weird part about it is that defense is so bad on so many levels. Baltimore's defense is bad too, but for some reason when the Chiefs have played them, Lou Anarumo makes that defense turn in their best performance of the year. So maybe going back to Mike Florio's point, the kryptonite part about that is every time the Chiefs have played the Bengals,
Kryptonite's more Lou Anarumo than it is,
exactly.
the Bengals team in general. Because the Chiefs beat the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, then go on to beat the Eagles, and then last year Burrow gets injured. But in the games Burrow played last year, and the games, the 10 games they've played so far this year, the Bengals are 4-7 in 1-score games. I mean, that's a guy who it's like, people want to clown the Chiefs for being frauds at 8-0. Because they're winning all these 1-score games, because they're winning closer games, because they're finding ways to win, because they're making plays at the right opportunity times, that bigger moments, the Chiefs somehow are the team that comes through. And yet it's excuses or, man, just imagine if what would we be saying about the Bengals if they'd had a play here or there throughout a game and they didn't have this 1-5 record this year in 1-score games? Like, flip those. If they're 5-1 in those 1-score games, they're the number 1 seed and so good. Yet the Chiefs are frauds and the Bengals are so close to being this really good, maybe number 1 seed team.
Well, there's 3 plays that stand out from last night's game. As bad as the Bengals defense was, they should have won this game. 4 plays if you count. Chase
They
Brown
were up 14 late in the third quarter.
Chase Brown's fumble was huge, but as far as actual just plays that weren't a turnover, 2 4th-and-1s. 2 4th-and-1s.
That's true.
And your play call is a streak to Jermaine Burton, who's been horrible. I mean, Jermaine Burton's been brutal.
That was quite the gamble, right?
But
anybody?
But not
gamble Burton Casino.
Yeah,
Never mind. Go ahead.
But not once, but twice.
Yeah.
That's the play. Like, not a 3-yard out, not a play to Gesicki or Jamar Chase. And then also,
or even Chase Brown, who had 10 receptions last night.
Yes. So I'm just sitting here going, that's 2 plays right there. Two non-turnover plays of 4th-and-1, and that's the play call, and the 2-point conversion. It was the right call to go for it. I'm with you to go for it.
I think the last 2 games that have been played in the NFL, both decisions would have been go for it.
But you
go
have
for 2.
You have Jamar Chase, who has 264 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game, who was punking every single Ravens cornerback. You have him one-on-one. You call timeout.
I
timeout.
Can't believe it.
Then all of a sudden, the Ravens are dumb enough to say, "We saw what you're going to do. We will leave him one-on-one yet again."
Still leaving him one-on-one.
Yeah. And you decide,
I would stare him down.
And somehow you decide to go. Don't even take a look at him.
Didn't even look at him.
And so I'm sitting here going, Joe Burrow had a great game. This is not necessarily a knock against him. 428 yards, 4 touchdowns. But those were 3 plays that Mahomes makes. If Mahomes saw Kelsey one-on-one or D-Hop one-on-one, he's not looking at all these other guys to the right. If it's 4th-and-1 and you're going for it, he's not throwing a deep ball in that situation to, who would that be on the Chiefs? McCole Hardman? Would that be?
I mean, it wouldn't even be McCole Hardman. Like,
honestly, it would have been like Sky Moore.
It would have been like Sky Moore, because Jermaine Burton was a guy that, man, this guy's got first-round talent, but he's got undrafted between the ears, right?
Yeah.
Undrafted red flags. And the guy was at a casino, right? And it's like, wow, then he's skipping team meetings and inactive. And then he plays in the game, and you take 2 shots to him, and it wasn't really close, and he didn't really have separation. And I liked the pick for the Bengals at that moment. I'm like, this is great value because I think Jermaine Burton is really talented.
Value was there, but no.
It doesn't look like the talent is going to be able to overcome all of the things that's keeping him from realizing that talent. But you still went to him twice. And that to me is where it's like, I get it. Like, this is the read. This is the play. It doesn't matter who's out here. This is the read. This is the play. This is where we go. I don't think Mahomes is going, okay, this is 4th-and-1, 4th-and-2. Here's the read. I'm going to Sky Moore. No, I'm going. If I got to create, I'll create. If I've got to wait and stare down Kelsey, I'll do that.
Yes.
Now he's got Hopkins. That certainly makes a difference. But The
I just don't think anyone's talking about the fact that's a like as great as the numbers Joe Burrow put up. I mean, it's not really a knock, like, but that's what separates Mahomes from Lamar and Joe and Josh is in those situations. How often does Mahomes make the smart play, not the explosive play, the smart play?
Per Next Gen Stats, this is from Robert Mays from The Athletic, host The Athletic Football Show. Patrick Mahomes has a 58.6% success rate on 3rd and 3 yards or more this year. The league average is 38%.
Yeah.
Mind you, that's 58.6%. League average is 38%. No other full-time starter is above 48%, and he's at essentially 49%. He has generated 40.1 expected points added on 3rd and 3 yards or more specifically this year. No one else in the league has more than 15. And he's generated 40 on 3rd down. Like, you don't win the one-score games because you get a call here or there from an official. You win the one-score games because when the moment is the biggest, you have players that find a way to come through and make those plays. And the Bengals have not been that team.
Correct.
Since they went to the Super Bowl. And by the way, let's not forget that sack by Aaron Donald on Joe Burrow, when if he just had another half second, Jamar Chase may score a touchdown because he was wide open and Burrow was wanting to go there. They didn't convert, I'm pretty sure, 1st down was the 9-yard gain. They didn't convert 2nd 1, 3rd 1, and 4th and 1 on that drive. Like those last 3 plays were 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, and 4th and 1. How? How in the world, Super Bowl on the line, do you not pick up even 1 yard, find a way to do it? There is zero chance on God's green earth that Patrick Mahomes would have 3 plays on 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, trailing in the Super Bowl and wouldn't pick up the 1st down. Like you just know somehow, some way he would come through. It's just reality.
It is funny to me that you go back to that AFC Championship game when they beat Kansas City at Arrowhead. You know, a part of some of that success on 3rd and short is what a defense has to worry about. With Kansas City right now, you got to worry about the pass. You have to worry about the running game a little bit, and also Patrick Mahomes and his legs.
That's true.
He's shown so many times that if nothing is there, he's not fast, but he's like deceptively quick, right, for his size. And with Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, you got to worry about those 3 things as well. They could run it with Lamar Jackson, or he could throw it. And with Cincinnati, to that AFC Championship game, a big reason they beat the Chiefs was Joe Burrow a couple of times escaped the pocket. And even though he's not quick, he picked up the 1st down. And now you're seeing in some of these spots on those must-haves, that's not even a thought to him. It's I'm going to throw the football, right? If this is maybe there, maybe not there, I'm still going to force it in. And even last night, I think everybody would have been fine if you motion somebody over. Jamar Chase is one-on-one, they throw it up, it's incomplete. Hey, the guy had 400 yards receiving basically in the game. I'll live and die by that. But, that decision to try to deceive Baltimore's defense of, they're so going to be focused on Jamar Chase, which they really weren't. If they were, he'd be double-teamed out there and make Mike Gesicki beat you. But that's overthinking.
They double-teamed Mike Gesicki.
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
And held him.
And drug him to the ground. And
they roughed him up and double-teamed Gesicki, left one-on-one Jamar Chase.
They acted like Gesicki was Travis Kelce.
I mean, I just and Jamar Chase was Sky Moore. We'll just leave one-on-one out there. We don't care about him.
What has he done this game?
We're going to double-team this tight end.
Exactly. And I think with one-score losses, it's a lot of overthinking. I think it's offensive coordinators, it's head coaches, it's quarterbacks overthinking decisions like that. Whereas even if the play was, we're going to Gesicki over the middle there because he's going to be open, you can look at what the defense might be doing and saying, hey, we actually have one-on-one outside. Let's just run a fade route. I know not a lot of people are fans of the fade route. When a guy has 270 yards receiving, that jump ball it, and he should be able to come down with it, and you have a 1-point lead with 30 seconds to go.
Yeah. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I still want to talk a little bit about last night's game because I tweeted it after the game was over that I still think the Bengals make the playoffs. Like and there was a lot of pushback, and I get it. I totally understand that as to why there was pushback with that because their defense has been pretty atrocious, and we saw what that defense did. I mean, they gave up 7. They were up 21-7 in the 3rd quarter, that defense. And then all of a sudden, the floodgates opened up. But I want to talk about that, what we think could be the case with that. And then there was specifically a player last night that I want to directly connect with the Kansas City Chiefs and something that we will be following and comparing the rest of the season And early on, good God, it ain't close. It's an early round Mike Tyson, just throw up somebody for the heck of it just to get him another win in the first round, 35 seconds. I can't believe I just paid $100 for pay-per-view and saw Mike Tyson throw 3 punches and this dude's knocked out. It's been that so far through a couple of weeks. We'll explain on the other side of the break. More Zone next. what the format says, since I didn't switch that up from last Friday. I can promise you guys, as you're looking at the format here, Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, and Matt Nagy do not talk today.
What about Chris Jones?
Not talking today either.
Okay.
Clearly did not switch that over from last Friday.
I was a little befuddled by that. I'm like, didn't we hear these guys
No, and
yesterday?
Kendall will not be at 12:30. He'll be at noon today.
Yeah, he's a nooner.
But Sad Fans are going to is going to be played at the end of the noon hour.
Ooh,
So
well,
we still
Mick
have-
Schaefer being here for that.
Mick will be with us.
Jack Mikolas when he's golfing.
Mm-hmm. May Mick be with you, and also with you.
Saint Mick.
That's exactly right. That's what I've told my kids about Saint Mick, and you know what Christmas is
He
all about.
really is bad Santa.
He would be the best. So we got Lee Sterling coming up later on this hour. Matt Derrick, Kendall Gammon, Mick Schaefer will tell you who's lighting it up. We got Sad Fans today. Fast Friday with Andy Reid, even though it's not on there. That comes up at 1 o'clock. Do the Bengals make the playoffs? I tweeted it out last night. My prediction the rest of the way is that the Bengals make the playoffs. They're the 7 seed, and I'm going to guess they go to Buffalo in the wild card round. While the Chiefs are off, it'll be 2 versus 7. This is my guess. It'll be 2 versus 7, and the Bengals make the playoffs with the 7 seed. Are they in the playoffs? Or is there, do they have too many flaws and they can't win one-score games, and there's going to be one-score games the rest of the way, and they're going to keep losing?
I'm almost like, who cares? Like, because even if they do, their defense is so bad.
I just worry about a team that has star power like that and is battle-tested and has been in the playoffs before.
Well, it comes down to
I would rather not see them, I'll be honest. I think the Chiefs will be fine, but I would rather not see them.
So we think the Colts probably fall out, right? I think Colts are one spot ahead of them. I think they fall. Then that leaves
Denver's going to be one game ahead of them after they lose on Sunday to the Chiefs.
So you have Denver, Chargers, 6 and 7. As we all
Chargers
said,
are making the playoffs.
As we all said, the AFC West was a great conference, a great division.
The Chargers would
have
to have a pretty decent collapse for them to not make the playoffs.
Yeah,
so I'm saying the Chargers are in the playoffs, whether they're the 6 or 7 seed. I think the Chargers have made the playoffs.
So that leaves one spot then for Denver, for the Colts, for Cincy, for New York.
Maybe Miami, because Miami still has the same amount of losses right now.
True,
and Tua is healthy.
But if you think the Jets are somehow going to go on a run,
right. It would be either the Jets or the Dolphins, playing good football. But again, the Dolphins damn near beat Buffalo, and with a healthy Tua, they have the same amount of losses as the Bengals do, and they would have one more loss than Denver after Sunday.
Yeah.
Which is the last team in the playoffs, if Miami wins this weekend. But anyway, go ahead.
They have also, by the way, the worst strength of victory in the entire AFC, as well as tied for the lowest in the entire NFL with the Panthers, the Bengals do. Yeah. So they've not beaten a good team yet, as we've mentioned.
No.
I guess the answer, I'd probably say, yeah, if I had to pick a team to get that 7th spot, I probably would pick Cincy. But until they beat a good team, it doesn't really matter.
I am wondering how much stock people are going to put into those 2 Baltimore games because of how good Baltimore is, and they've hung with them and they've put up a lot of points. But as Sterling brought up, the only teams they've beaten are really bad football teams. And in the last half of their schedule, it probably does come down to Sunday night against the Chargers. If they lose that game, I think I'm out at that point. Because at that point, after the bye week, you can't lose 2 games. You would need to win all but 1, basically, to go 9-8. I think 9-8 is good enough for the 7th seed. And after their bye week, they've got Pittsburgh twice. Who knows, maybe that Dallas game on the road could be easy, although Dallas's defense is bad, and Joe Burrow should have a good game against them. Cleveland's always a weird team for them to go up against. I'm not sure what it is, but Cleveland always is a weird divisional matchup. And then maybe that game against Denver 4 days after Christmas could be weird as well. So I think on Sunday night, we probably will have our answer. If they win that game, I'm going to say yes, that they only need to win a few after the bye week, and they could have 2 losses. But if they lose to the Chargers on the road, that puts them at 4-7. They would need to only have 1 more loss the rest of the way, and that's 2 against Pittsburgh, Denver, and Dallas on the road could be tough as well.
Because they have Denver at home is why I'll give them advantage over Denver. Because even if they finish with the same record as Denver but win that game, then they would have the tiebreaker. I looked at DraftKings this morning just to see what the odds are for just simply make the playoffs, yes or no. And of those teams, I included Denver, Indy, New York, Miami, and Tennessee. All the teams that have the same amount of losses or what would seem to be 1 fewer than, even if Indianapolis wins this week and they still only have 1 fewer loss. If they lose to the Bills this weekend, Indianapolis and Cincinnati have the same exact record right now. The Bengals are plus 135 to make the playoffs. The Denver Broncos are plus 165. The Colts plus 180. The Jets plus 300. Miami plus 500. And Tennessee for S's and G's I threw in there's plus 1,800. So according to DraftKings in Vegas, out of those 6 teams, Cincy is the favorite of those teams to make the playoffs. But, we could be going off past results. Burrow's been good. Jamar Chase is amazing.
Past results aren't always indicative of
Exactly.
future results.
No doubt. But sometimes the best way to predict the future is to study the past. And we'll see what the Bengals end up doing. My prediction is that they do make the playoffs. I'd be fine if they don't. Okay, it's not what I'm rooting for. I mentioned early on a comparison that we'll be having the rest of the way that so far is a sacrificial lamb thrown into the ring with Mike Tyson. DeAndre Hopkins in week 1 played 23 snaps. In week 2 played 51 snaps. That's, quick math, 74 in 2 games. He has 12 targets, 10 receptions, 115 yards, and 2 touchdowns, does DeAndre Hopkins. Deontay Johnson for the Ravens has played 2 games, 8 quarters. He's played 2 games. He played in the first game last weekend. He played 17 snaps in week 1. So, pretty close to what DeAndre Hopkins played. You want to guess how many snaps he played last night? So he played 17 in week 1. DeAndre Hopkins, week 1, played 23. And then another week around the facility, played 51. Deontay Johnson played 17. Another week around the facility.
Well, he kind of got benched because of that first half. The end of the half, he didn't really hustle trying to get out of bounds. I think it was a tough play. I think
it was.
Lamar was furious at him, and I thought
he should have been furious at himself for throwing a crosser.
Yeah, it was
with no timeouts.
But still, Deontay didn't look like he was trying his hardest to really get out of bounds. But he kind of got benched. So I'll say Deontay played 17 snaps.
17 in week 1, 17 in week 2.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 15.
15. Dylan, you want to throw a dart? 17 snaps in week 1. How many snaps you played last night?
17.
Okay.
You copied me.
Yeah. He played 5.
Yeah.
He played 5.
I think he only played 1, if only 1, after the first half.
Played 5. If we're doing the math at home, that is 46 fewer than Hopkins played in week 2. He played 17 in week 1, another week around the facility, getting to know the offense, and played 5 snaps. 2 targets, 1 reception, 6 yards. The other target, he slipped and fell, which Lamar was not happy about.
Well, Tylan Wallace, as you saw, jumped him in that fourth quarter. Tylan Wallace became
Tylan Wallace
guy.
was like, what'd you go and get Deontay Johnson for if Tylan Wallace is going to do that? Like I said, it is sacrificial lamb to Mike Tyson in the first round through 2 weeks of, well, we'll keep an eye on Deontay Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins. A lot of people wanted Deontay Johnson. Was DeAndre Hopkins washed? We'll keep an eye on this the rest of the way to see the comparison. Well, right now it's a first round, 30 seconds in, complete and total knockout. I could not believe, looking at the numbers today, that he played 5 snaps last night.
Yeah.
Could not believe it.
Oh, I could believe it as a man who thought he was going to be
I can believe it as a man who
I
put the
who
over,
bet- who bet
over
on
18
him.
and a half receiving yards last night.
As a man who bet on Deontay, I could believe it.
I was like, oh, well, this is going to be like it's not going to be crazy like DeAndre Hopkins, but now he's been there a week. He didn't get a target last week. They'll go out of their way to target him. What's more likely to continue? Hopkins being a go-to and Deontay Johnson being an also-ran? Or Deontay Johnson being a guy that grows into a role he had in Pittsburgh and Carolina, and DeAndre Hopkins maybe sliding back a little bit and finding a role that's complementary?
I feel like DeAndre Hopkins still being a go-to guy has to be the option here because how quickly he picked up the offense and how quickly he was effective, why would I expect severe regression from that? I think with Deontay Johnson, here's the problem with it. Baltimore put up 35 points last night. You would think with as many passes that Lamar threw, as many touchdowns he had, Deontay Johnson could have gotten out there in the field. They used value to go out there and get him to help this wide receiver room, but it's just not working out through 2 weeks, and that can happen. But honestly, if I'm Baltimore, I'd say, hey, you put up 35 points there. We're going to try to recreate that every single week, and if that means less Deontay Johnson out there, that means less Deontay Johnson. Whereas for the Chiefs, they're saying we need more DeAndre Hopkins because our offense just put up 30 points when he was probably the number one target to go to in that game.
Yeah, and they don't have Zay Flowers and even Rashad Bateman the way that, the Ravens do.
Zay Flowers didn't do anything in that game, by the way. It was Bateman.
Do you also have money on Zay Flowers?
No, I was playing against him in fantasy football, so I was actually thrilled. I was okay. As a man who went up against him, I was fine.
As a man who had Jamar Chase and Derrick Henry, I was fine last night.
Oh, dude,
too,
you are that guy.
I'm just glad that, it's Dynasty League. I've been building for years, all right? This is the year. This is the dang
I'm building
year.
for 2043.
This is the dang
2043
year,
is going to be my year.
Danged year to do that. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We'll hear from Lee Sterling and Todd Lebo, and then Matt Derrick will join us in the 11 o'clock hour. More Zone next.
who's going to win and by how much. You're about to find out from national sports handicapping champion Lee Sterling on The Zone. Log on to ParamountSports.com or call toll-free 800-400-9741 to get started.
Welcome back into The Zone on this Red Friday. And let me tell you what, we're having a lot of fun with gambling. Everyone's excited about gambling coming to Missouri next year because it passed on the ballot. And that means Lee Sterling is going to be even more important to us as we move forward from Paramount Sports. Lee, it's Dovember, but it's a special Dovember, right?
It is. So I notice a lot of people would like to do it for 1 week only. So we've won 10 of the last 12 times. We've had the Baker's Dozen. We already won this year on it. I'm going to open it up again. 13 games combined Saturday and Sunday, just $97. We have gone, how about this, 70 and 25 on our 40 to 50 unit max wagers. Might have one, looks like one might be materializing there for Saturday. And then even the 35 unit games were 17 and 7 since the start of last year. So anything from 35 to 50 units has been money anywhere between high 60s to mid 70%. And then if you want to try us for 4 weeks through Monday, December 2nd, Dovember we call it, that special, just $297. So it works out to like $75 a weekend as opposed to $97 for the weekend, and you get all the games during the middle of the week, and we rate those from 10 to 50 units. So Dovember, $97 for Saturday and Sunday, the Baker's Dozen there, and then Dovember, 4 weeks, $297, ParamountSports.com.
We love Dovember, and we always love the Baker's Dozen, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some games this weekend, a little college and some pro. I'm super intrigued by this first game you have here for us. BYU and Utah. It's the Holy War. It's a conference game now, and this is new for our Big 12 people, but this is a wild rivalry. BYU's undefeated. They're favored on the road at Utah.
So I think something's going on with Kyle Whittingham. He said he was going to be eventually stepping down, and, they were going to turn it over to Morgan Scally, the defensive coordinator, who's done a good job. I mean, it's the offense that's been the biggest problem. But I have a feeling it's not going to happen in a couple of years. I think it might be at the end of this year. I think they're devoid of talent. We don't know who's going to start at quarterback here. Will it be Wilson or Rose? We're not sure. They said they're going to wait up until game time. I don't think it matters. Both of them just aren't doing the job here. BYU 6-0 when facing Utah, one in the top 10. BYU 35 points per game this year. I just don't think that Utah has any playmakers. I mean, look what they've scored last 5 games, 22, 10, 19, 7, and 14 points, and they've lost 4 straight here. We're going to go with BYU to keep rolling here, 24-17.
That'd be big. That'll get them a little closer to that Big 12 title game. Another big game in the Big 12 title game race is Colorado at Texas Tech. Colorado also favored here on the road. Tech coming off a huge win over Iowa State.
Should be a really good game. Texas Tech got bowl eligible with a hard-fought win in the rain at Iowa State last Saturday. The Buffaloes are on a bye, so should be able to game plan for this game here. Had a little bit of a head start there. They're 6-2. People are shocked about that. No one saw BYU and Colorado, the top 2 teams in the conference. They're 4-1 in conference play, whereas the Red Raiders are 4-2. If common opponents mean anything, and sometimes, they do, then Colorado beat Baylor by 3 in overtime, who Tech lost to by 24, and Colorado beat Arizona by 27, who Tech beat only by 6. And I just think the best player on the field is going to be Shedeur Sanders and also Travis Hunter. Those two by far. And quarterback Morton, I mean, he's okay for Texas Tech. Just think these guys just will shine and make some big plays here. Colorado, 35-27.
Yeah, it'd be a big for them. They control their destiny, try to get to that Big 12 title game. Iowa State lost, as you mentioned, at home against Tech last week. They're going to be at Arrowhead to play Kansas. Kansas this month plays Iowa State, BYU, and Colorado. So they're going to be a factor in this Big 12 title race on who wins, right? Maybe Kansas can't do it, but they can factor in this thing. How's Iowa State going to get up off the mat and come down here to Kansas City and play Kansas? How will they fare?
Well, I think Kansas is trying to sell everyone. Okay, they're 2-6, and if they sweep the Final Four opponents, they're bowl eligible. No way, not happening here. So, the old axiom, take them one game at a time, that's nice, but I think too many guys have checked out here. They have been a problem for Iowa State, beating the Cyclones 14-11 and 28-21 the last 2 years. I just think there was pressure on Iowa State. I mean, also playing in the weather last week was not good. I mean, they were 5-0 at one point against the spread. Now they're 5-2. They're still getting takeaways, 17 in 8 games here, and still have the Big 12 championship to play for. When Iowa State is under the radar, that's when they play their best football. Iowa State 30-23.
It may rain a little bit here tomorrow as well, but probably not during the game. I am going to be in Columbia, Missouri tomorrow to watch my Oklahoma Sooners play Missouri. This game opened up as Missouri is a big favorite, but the quarterback issues have swung this thing in Oklahoma's favor for some reason. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I do think that there's some problems here at Missouri. I mean, it's just the quarterback is a problem. It looks like, I would say by the line, they opened up as 2.5-point favorite, now a 3-point underdog. So what they're trying to tell you is not going to see their starter. And if they have to go to Drew Pine, well, he's a quarterback that should be on the Pine. He is not fared well throwing or running the football. He's just an absolute, it's like dead weight. So I just think that they have the better players, better recruited players. They haven't been able to get it to their top 2 receivers, and those guys could go. Those 2 guys could be top first and second round picks. So, and I'm talking about Burden and Weiss. So, I just think that it's a problem here for Missouri. Here, I think they're just playing out the string. I like Oklahoma here, 27-20. I think they cover the 3-point spread.
Oklahoma needs this one to get bowl eligible because they still have Alabama and LSU after that. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I hope I'm happy Saturday night late, but I don't know. I'll be happy either way because I'm just watching college football. It's fun, right? Now,
it's not going to be crazy there. I mean, I know that they should have a pretty good turnout, but there's been times where that place has been a tough place to play. Hadn't been so tough this year.
It's an old Big 12 rivalry renewed. And my wife went to Missouri. So listen,
Big Eight, going back to the Big
all
Eight.
the Big Eight. This will be my first time watching this rivalry in person as an SEC man. So I've seen all of them in the other ways.
Isn't
all
that
right.
strange?
It is
So
weird.
strange.
But, hey, that's the life we're leading now. That's how it goes. All right, Chiefs have an old-school AFC West rivalry, and that's going to be the Denver Broncos coming for a noon game. Wild noon start at Arrowhead. They don't do this a lot. Chiefs are over a touchdown favorite. They're undefeated. But Denver played them well the last couple of times last year. Beat them once.
Yeah, KC has owned Denver, winning 16-17. Actually, have even covered 10-6-1 against the spread. I'm just watching this Broncos team. They failed to step up in class against the Ravens past Sunday. Not nearly as explosive as Kansas City as Baltimore was. But the Broncos, even though they've held 6 of 9 opponents below 18 points, I just think that their offense against good teams is not faring well. Sean Payton, one of the few coaches that can be, considered in Andy Reid's league. I think he's respectable, but even though the spot is good, until the Broncos prove themselves against elite opponents, I just can't back him here. For once, I'm going to go with Kansas City and lay the points here. Been money so far going taking the points, but not this week. Kansas City 28-17.
I think Chiefs fans would like a laugher at some point because they don't get a lot of those. You got a free play for us and the Baker's Dozen this week.
So what we're going to do is, if you would like to get the Baker's Dozen, 13 games combined Saturday and Sunday, just $97. It's an instant download, so you're ready to go. And then got the Dovember special, not November, it's Dovember, 4 weeks, $297. Every football release, we rate them from 10 to 50 units. We are 70 and 25 on our 40 to 50 unit max wagers. So we won in September, won in October. I believe we're going to win again in November. Just one place. All the specials up and available. ParamountSports.com.
That's Lee Sterling. Good luck this weekend, Lee. We'll talk to you on Chiefs Tailgate on Sunday morning. More Zone coming up next on this Red Friday on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Hanging out with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast on this Friday edition of the show. Matt, what is up, brother?
I don't know what's up.
Oh, okay. The ceiling and the sky, the Chiefs' record, the number 1 seed possibilities, DeAndre Hopkins stock. I'm just naming a few things here.
You are super energy. See, I mean, I think I have daylight savings time change this week.
Right, that makes sense.
You are fully on it.
Well,
I feel like you've had a sport coffee or something.
I've got till 2 before I crash. All right, at 2:05 I go to sleep. What time did you? Speaking of which, I always like to get the time on these night games. What time did you go to sleep on Tuesday morning after Monday Night Football? After you guys recorded the podcast?
Yeah, because I think I'm okay. Well, here's a pretty good story because I think I made a remark at one point as we were near the end. I think I said out loud that we were at 2:26 a.m. I think we were still recording the podcast, and so here's how the sausage gets made. So we record it. Nick does the editing, everything. And then he sends it to me to upload to the YouTube. So, yeah, I fell asleep.
As you should.
As I guess I should.
As a human being would.
As I would. I fell asleep while uploading it. So I had it.
That's pretty funny.
And I woke up and I looked at my phone because my phone was like laying next to me because I'd literally fallen asleep with the phone. I don't know if I was on my side or on my stump back or whatever, but the phone was next to me. And so I picked up the phone and I looked at it and I have a text and it's from Nick saying, I guess you fell asleep. And then I opened up my phone and I was open to the description of the video. So I had uploaded the video and was typing the description of the video when I fell asleep.
Oh my gosh. That's so I'm going to say like 4 o'clock in the morning.
So
I'm going to say it was like 4.
It was probably around 3 is when I fell asleep.
That's fine.
Like I said, I woke up around 5.
Yeah, but it was 4 o'clock without daylight savings. So
well, exactly. I mean,
there you go. So again, giving you you're still on daylight. You're still on. Is it standard now? When this is daylight savings, right? It should just stay standard.
See, that's the debate. Is that when we inevitably, as it seems like people want us to do, either go all the way and just have one time all year round.
Yeah, what it was before this past weekend.
It'd be the last time. It wouldn't be this time.
See, and that's the
what
crazy
it was.
thing.
Like, this is daylight savings. Yes, what would be standard. Like, keep it like
Keep
it
the other
was.
one.
Yeah, I don't need an hour extra in the morning. I need an hour extra at night.
That's the crazy thing is that, yes, a lot of people favor the keeping daylight time, which is not the standard time.
Yeah.
So
They prefer... Oh, wait a minute. Is this standard time?
This is standard
Okay,
time.
so daylight savings.
Yeah.
Oh, standard time is ass.
Yeah, this
dude.
is because we're moving. Yeah, that's right. We're falling forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're falling back. We
Dude,
spring forward. So we fall back. We take an hour away from the night. So we save the daylight during the summer. And so daylight savings
I want
is what
it
it
to
should
be bright at 5 o'clock. I don't want to be driving home and it's dark.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The argument that other people have is that, it means that then kids will go to school in the dark pretty much all year round.
No, they're fine. They're fine. Although I will say during the wintertime, it does make it easier to get them to bed. I would say it is much easier to trick my daughter into thinking okay, she needs an early bed. We went to bed a little bit late last night. She needs an early bedtime. Tricking her into thinking, no, it's late. We gotta go to bed. It's late because it's been dark for a little bit. That helps out. There are some advantages to it.
And for people who don't think that we're on topic, this is called the zone. And I always assumed that this was about the time zone.
That's exactly right. Central. You're in the Central time zone. Right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
This show is about the time zone. You occasionally talk about sports.
That's exactly
We're
right.
in the Central Standard Time Zone.
Central Time Zone, the best time zone to watch sports. There is no other time zone that is better, and I will not hear arguments.
I will argue about
What's
that.
better?
Whoa.
Mountain?
Whoa.
You know what? I really like Pacific.
Okay, I was going to say, if you said
What?
Eastern time, these conversations would be over.
really-
What, you want to wake up and...
10 o'clock. Chiefs play at 10 o'clock in the
6:30
morning.
a.m. for the London games?
Yeah, but
5 o'clock in the afternoon for
Monday night
baseball
football.
games.
Monday night football is done by 10, and you get a reasonable.
I
Well,
get
you're
it.
selfish.
I
That's
get it,
why.
but it's also starting at 5:15. Monday Night Football at 5:15. No, thank you. No, thank you. Central Time Zone, the best. Eastern Time Zone, the worst. Maybe I'll listen to Mountain.
Yeah.
Mountain's pretty good too.
but I
think I was born for Mountain Time.
I
I
can't get
do
down
well
with
in
the-
Mountain Time.
Yeah, I can't get down with the Pacific Time
You a
or the
mountain
Eastern
man?
Time.
I'm really not, although I like the mountains in the summer. I
Yeah.
just don't like them during the winter.
Yeah. He likes the mountains where bears are at and during weeks and fat bear weeks and things like that. So is that done? Is it over?
It's done and over.
Who won?
Grazer went back to back.
Grazer back to back.
Grazer back to back.
What is this now?
What was the did they have to delay it a week because of the live murder?
They did not. They delayed the voting one day.
What is
because
happening
they
right
did.
now?
Yes.
Fat Bear Week that takes place every year.
Beginning of October every year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, someone got murdered? What is happening?
Well, one of the
Well, there-
bears got
well,
murdered
there was-
on live
Yes.
TV, on
Yes,
live
one of
camera
the-
Wait, what?
by another bear. It was a
Yes.
fight.
What is happening? What are we talking about?
We're talking about Fat Bear Week. What do you
Talk
what
about
do you think?
nature, man.
Yeah, we're talking about Fat Bear Week. What we talk with Matt Derrick about every year
Fat bear.
around October. So Grazer
it was-
back-to-back champion.
Grazer went back to back, first working mom to win
awesome.
Fat Bear Week.
Good for her. Single mom too, right?
Who works 2 jobs.
Well, all bears are single moms because the father bear does his work and then you never see him again. They go into hibernation and that's done.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, there you go.
Did my job.
So good for Grazer. Good for Grazer. What a great
Yeah.
bear.
It's
What a
tough,
great bear.
Tough year for Grazer. She lost the cub. She had 2 cubs at the beginning of the season.
I didn't know
lost
that.
one. Yeah. Chunk. One got too close to Chunk, 32. And Chunk.
This is apparently Alaska's most
What do you mean,
watched
apparently?
popularity
I mean,
contest.
apparently, as if yes, we know that.
It's definitely.
It's definitely that. It's not apparently.
They exceed 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
They're fat
easily,
bears.
yeah.
Yeah, they're fattening up for the winter.
Some of them come close to 2. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they've estimated that Chunk and Walker and
So
some
you
of
know all
those
the
big
names. This
guys-
is incredible.
Oh,
Yeah, Matt.
I mean-
Every year,
I mean,
Matt watches Fat Bear Week. We just didn't get a
It's-
chance to talk to him a couple of weeks ago about it. So, Matt Derrick is our guest. All right, takeaway from Monday night. You guys did the podcast and everything. You've had time to sleep on it, literally the next day. But what's your takeaway? They win the game in overtime. They get the touchdown. But what do you glean from the Chiefs' 8th victory on the season?
I think offense is continuing to improve week by week. Mahomes, I think this was the best he's looked all season, the most comfortable for sure, cleanest game that he's had. So, I mean, hey, would there be more? There'd be more output if he had more chemistry and more depth, I think. Obviously, just having the targets that he doesn't have available to him is still an adjustment. I mean, they're still trying to figure some things out. I mean, there's no doubt DeAndre Hopkins was the one and only receiver that you could drop into this offense and get the kind of production that you're getting. It's just ridiculous.
How far, if at all, is he already maybe exceeding expectations of what he would do for this offense? Maybe let's look at it this way. Let's analyze it from 2 questions. One, is he at or above what you thought he could do for this offense this year? And even if he's only at, how far ahead of schedule would that be in your mind of what you thought he could do this year? So 2 different questions.
Yeah, I mean, certainly he is well ahead of schedule from what I thought they could get from him this early. And I think I said, hey, if he gets 40 yards a game over, I guess at that point would have been the last 12 games of the season. What, it came in after game 6?
Yeah.
So 12 games of the season, 480 yards. I think, hey, got close to 500. That'd be good output and everything like that.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I would.
roughly 900 yards or so would be the pace of a course of a season over 17. I mean, if you have 60 yards per game, that's 1,000 yards
Right.
in a season. So right now he's at 57 per game.
With the 17-game season,
115,
that
yeah.
would be a 1,000-yard
Yeah,
season.
so
and
57 and a
everything,
half. 57 and a half, so he would be like at 997, 998 for the course of the season, I think. So he is right now averaging what would be a 1,000-yard receiver through 2 games with the Chiefs.
And obviously, that's more than I expected him
me
to
too.
be at.
It's more than I expected him to be at this year. Like I thought, okay, if he could pace for 1,000, I'll settle out of court right now. If he could do that,
sure.
like absolutely,
just taking that ticket and cash it immediately.
100%. And he is weeks, month at least ahead of where I thought he would be chemistry-wise and in the offense from what he did on Monday night.
I mean, and here's where I'll maybe tap the brakes a little bit,
great.
which is that I think he is more.
I cut your brakes, so don't do that.
No.
Cut
Wild
the brakes.
card.
Cut the brakes. He's gonna go for 240 and 4 touchdowns next week. No,
Take that, Jamar Chase.
I think he's incorporated himself into the offense, developed the chemistry with Mahomes much more quickly than anticipated. And as a result, I mean, I think that he's where I thought that, he's right now, he's where the Chiefs want him to be by end of 11 weeks.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
right.
this is where they
Agreed.
wanted to be in playoff form. It's
Yes.
like, okay, pick up
Come
this
divisional
much of-
round, DeAndre. Do that.
And he still hasn't. I mean, I still haven't thrown the entire offense on.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be still picking up pieces of that week by week. They're probably going to accelerate how much they throw on him because he is handling everything so quickly. But I've got a piece coming up on this in the next few days, which is that we're probably getting more returns faster than expected, simply because DeAndre, as advanced as a receiver as he is, as how much he has seen over the years, and really just how much he complements this offense. I think that's why you're getting the returns earlier, because he looks at, if he's lined up, he sees a coverage. If it's zone coverage, I mean, he knows where in the zone the open spot's going to be. And he thinks along the same lines as Mahomes does. So Mahomes expects him to be in that same spot too. So even if it's not the play call, they're going to be in situations where they see a defensive look. They already see it the exact same way. And that's not entirely just, from talking about it. It's just from experience. Yeah. They have, DeAndre's got more experience than Mahomes.
It's unbelievable.
But they see defenses and they say, oh, hey, this is where the open spot's going to be. So if DeAndre makes an adjustment, Mahomes is already expecting it. And even when, you get the times that DeAndre and Kelsey are going to be on the same side of the field, they see things the same way. So you're not going to get situations where they're both trying to occupy the same zone or they're counteracting against each other. It's like, hey, Kelsey's going to do his thing. He knows that DeAndre's going to understand that and do his thing, or vice versa, just depending on where they are on the field.
I talked to Cynthia yesterday, and as I was talking to her, I said I was 99% convinced that it was sort of an adjustment between Mahomes and DeAndre, that it looked like it was a straight run. On 2nd and 2, the second drive of the game, there was a 17-yard pass to DeAndre Hopkins. I was 99%. I was 100% wrong. My 99% thought was 100% wrong. It was, and I'm glad you asked the question. Mahomes said it was a true RPO, that the safety came down. But it's interesting because when he threw the ball, as DeAndre Hopkins was catching it, like Wanya Morris was blocking, and at that point was like 3 or 4 yards down the field. Not when he threw the ball. He wasn't. When he threw the ball, he was about a yard, maybe a yard and a half. It was like a foot still in that 1 yard area, so they didn't throw a flag or whatever. But it's the Chiefs. They weren't going to anyway.
Scripted.
Yes, exactly. So when he catches the ball and is running, and I'm looking at the line of scrimmage, and I see Wanya down, I'm like, oh, that was a run. And I see Kareem Hunt sort of like standing there like, what's going, like that was and maybe Kareem Hunt read it as, oh, I'm getting this ball here because look at the middle's wide open. Okay, I'm going to get, and Patrick said yesterday, well, the safety came down and that's why I hit DeAndre there. And if you look later on in the game, that same look, the safety stayed over the top. The safety stayed back and we were able to hand it off. But it wasn't like DeAndre Hopkins read it the same. Okay, the safety's down. As soon as he came out of the break, he was running and looking for the ball. Like it wasn't he may or may not come my way. Like it was almost like they both read it the exact same way, and it was like I'm coming right to you. That was really, really good. It was a true RPO, so I wrong about thinking that it was just an adjustment between the two. But even so, they both immediately read it the same way and hit him in stride, and it was a 17-yard gain instead of maybe a 5 or 6 yard run.
That was true synergy, because I heard you talking to Cynthia about that.
Oh, yeah.
And was like, hey, wait a minute. I'm kind of curious about this now. How about that
Because
play?
I think Jason's wrong.
No, it wasn't about that. It was
this is
just
a true
like,
RPO.
I was just purely interested in everything like that, how it came about. Because to me, it told us another something, which is that, RPOs aren't hard, but, you've got to understand them. You've got to know what be ready for it either way. And the fact that here's another guy who's only been here 2 weeks and he's ready to run RPOs. I mean, he's not that he hasn't run them before, but to be ready for it and to anticipate it and make the play, I mean, that's once again a sophisticated thing that I don't think any other receiver coming in 2 weeks would be doing.
One other play that I want to highlight and talk about, and we'll get some other things from the Chiefs with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. Tied 17, 3rd and 5, fourth quarter, 3rd and goal from the 5. Ends up being a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes to DeAndre Hopkins. How much do you think that specific play was what we heard Mahomes say last week after the Raiders game when he threw the touchdown to Travis Kelce, and he said, looking at the tablet, he was winning one-on-one battles and he was open. And he goes, even on that touchdown to Kelce, he won his route and he was open. Pretty much the same route. So how much do you think the last week's play where he had Hopkins to his left one-on-one on a slant that he didn't look his way, he threw it to a pretty tight window with Kelce, and Hopkins was wide open. And this week he goes, snap, step, not even needing to look, firing it to the spot where I expect him to be, and I hit him in the 8. How much are those things connected, do you think, from week 1 to week 2 of Mahomes immediately having that trust of one-on-one, he's going to win. I saw it on the tablet. I'm expecting it to happen. 3rd and goal at the 5 could be the difference in the game of converting or not.
I think 100%. I mean, it really is. I mean, and I, whether it's happening on the practice field or whether it's just a couple of those moments, and obviously that ridiculous throw that he made,
the 3rd and 8,
the 3rd and 8 that he makes, that DeAndre gets it in the midst of 3 people, and then when that play happened live, I was like, that's incomplete and everything. And then
maybe intercepted. Antoine Winfield, for some reason, was going for the hit, or was like going to catch it over his shoulder as an interception instead of like knocking it away. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
But as I saw them all rolling on the ground, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't see a football. I don't see a football rolling around or anything. So I'm like, did he catch that?
Yeah. And then he got up and started looking at the crowd. I'm like,
oh my God, he actually caught that.
The damn thing.
But no, I mean, and whether that played out into it also, but I mean, there is absolutely zero doubt. I mean, we're 2 weeks in, and Mahomes has 100% trust in Hopkins that he's going to be in the exact same spot that he expects him to be, and that he's going to make that play every single time. And so, I mean, and situations like that in particular, I mean, you know that the defense is looking at Kelce. They're going to be on him.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to start changing, but the thing is that once things start changing, those windows on Kelce are going to get a little more open because you can't double team them both. And if you do, eventually, okay, well, there's going to be some third guy completely wide open.
Justin Watson was wide open like 3 or 4 different times in the game.
Yeah, Justin Watson and McCole Hardman and whomever else.
Noah
on
Gray
the field.
will be a beneficiary at some point this year.
I mean, Wanye Morris is going to be wide open on one of these tackle eligible plays here pretty soon.
Well, it was once this year, right? That was pre-Hopkins.
Yeah, wide open.
I mean, still, he's still going to find his open space in the voids.
That's right.
I think it's just going to get better and better. But to your point, I mean, I do think that the fact that there were moments last week that I could see on film that was wait a minute, Hopkins is running where he's supposed to be. He knows his spots. He's wide open. Take advantage of it, until teams adjust. And I'm sure there will be some adjustments this week, and that's why I'm really intrigued to see what happens. But this past game is a pretty good example of when a team has to divide its attention. I mean, if you try to divide your attention between Hopkins and Kelce, both of them are going to go off. If you focus on one of them, the other one is going to go off. I don't know how you really guard this, and the Chiefs are drooling over the fact that later on they think they're going to have Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster on the field at the same time as these two guys, and then it's going to be Katie bar the door. Yeah.
That's I want to see it, right? I mean, there's a lot of football to be played before Hollywood is back. I want to see it, and hopefully that'll be the case. But those 3 plays in that game were certainly exciting. The 2nd down and 2, 17-yard catch on the RPO, the 3rd and 8, 35-yard catch on sort of the bleep it, DeAndre's down there somewhere. Took them all of 6 quarters to go bleep it, DeAndre's down there. I'll just throw it to him. And the 3rd and 5 touchdown. That was a rhythm I'm not even going to look over to see if he's open before I throw it. I expect him to be open. And there's a touchdown, and the Chiefs, Bucs went down and scored a touchdown. The Chiefs get a field goal there. I mean, I don't know that changes what the Buccaneers were able to do. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. A few things I want to talk about. Get Matt Derrick's thoughts on third down percentage. Why has it been so great for the Chiefs? And is it time for the Chiefs maybe to start negotiating with Trey Smith's agents before you get to the end of the year? We'll talk a little bit about that. Look at the AFC picture and what the Chiefs have been doing and opportunities to continue to separate themselves. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
I know Matt Derrick can't wait to see Hollywood Brown back, but you can see Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway, baby. Yeah, Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway, and ESPN Better helping you this.
Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. All right, so this Chiefs team is...
I was going to pour one out for the late, great Janie Lane.
I want to talk, but I also just want to listen. Just enjoy the ballad.
Don't cry, Matt. Don't cry.
Third down efficiency. The Chiefs are historically good so far this year. Through week 9, they have the highest conversion rate through 9 weeks in a season since 2011. The Chiefs' expected points added this year on third down is the highest in the NFL. The second highest is closer to 11th than they are first with the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes' third down success rate is the highest in the NFL on 3rd and 3 or longer at 59%. League average is 38%. The next closest is at 48%. Patrick Mahomes on 3rd and 3 or longer has generated 40.1 expected points added this year. The second most in the NFL, quarterbacks on 3rd and 3 or longer, has generated 15 expected points added. What is the recipe? What are all the ingredients as to why this team has been historically great on third down?
I mean, without breaking it down and looking at individual downs, I mean, you would say that part of it is certainly that the Chiefs don't put themselves into a lot of third and long situations. They're getting in third and reasonable. Not that this team isn't known for converting the occasional 3rd and 18, but those are few and far between. But, you're getting into 3rd and 3. And how are they doing that? Well, since Kareem got here, they generally don't lose yardage on, first or second down runs, anything like that. I mean, they're falling forward. They're getting some decent yardage. Mahomes, I think the fact that they're probably not taking as many deep shots right now because they don't really have, the horses that they once had. I mean, we talked all about in training camp that this team was going to be taking deep shots and everything, and so far they really haven't. Because, they were counting on having Hollywood stretch the field a little bit.
And Rashee Rice there.
And Rashee Rice there stretching the field. And, so,
Xavier and
they've taken their deep shots, but not the frequency that they wanted. And as a result, you don't, if you're taking a deep shot and you miss, well, now it's 2nd and 10 or it's 3rd and 10, whatever it may be. So basically, you're just getting a lot of, 3rd and short situations. And that's recipe for success. I mean, that's the number one key. Kareem Hunt, I think, is a huge part of it because, once again, I mean, Kareem is going to convert you some third downs. I mean, obviously, Mahomes has done a lot of those. I think, his numbers on third down, obviously, you laid them out, are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just doesn't throw in completions. Well, a part of that also is that, you get a lot of third and shorts. You're going to complete a lot of short passes. I mean, that's just the way it works. But I think Kareem has had a lot to do with it.
So I do as well. But I also wanted to pass this one along, this stat, because the Robert Mays stat that I gave per Next Gen Stats, Robert Mays, host of the Athletic Football Show, had the success rate for Patrick Mahomes and the EPA on third down and how far and away he is. Somebody replied and said, this is an Andy Reid stat, not a Patrick Mahomes stat. And then somebody replied to that and said, all right, so let's look at third down ranks since Andy Reid started coaching. 2013, they were 20th. 2014, they were 17th. 2015, they were 12th. 2016, they were 20th. 2017, they were 14th. Since Mahomes took over. Third, first, second, sixth, first. Maybe it's not an Andy Reid stat. Maybe it is a lot to do with maybe the greatest quarterback we've ever seen play the game. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's as simple as that Mahomes is that good. I do think Kareem Hunt is part of it, but I think what we've seen on third down and what Mahomes is doing is also an element of the box score stats don't exactly tell the story of what took place during the game as to how a team got to more points than the other team just based on a quarterback. Like, Burrow's stats last night were amazing. Much better than Mahomes' stats against the Ravens earlier this year. Yeah. One team came out on top, the other one didn't.
Because of the 4th and 1s. You look at the 4th and 1 plays.
100%. Yeah.
Mahomes is not. That's not going to be the read he sees. Throw into their version of Sky Moore.
Yeah, you threw a couple fourth downs to Jermaine Burton, and your 2-point conversion, you never looked at Jamar Chase, who was one-on-one with a Ravens cornerback. You didn't even look his way. He's one-on-one. You got exactly the look you wanted, I thought, and you looked right the whole time. Either way, it's not an Andy Reid stat. Andy Reid is a big part of it, right? I mean, even with Alex Smith, they were still middle of the pack. They were still top 15. They were still top half of the league.
Yeah.
But not the best in this year, historically the best.
Maybe it was just that when Andy Reid figured it out. I mean,
It could be coincidental.
I mean, I'm just
It
saying.
was like he woke up one night. He's like, "Wait a minute, bing, epiphany."
I mean, the most
Corn dog.
famous third down conversion I really think of in the Chiefs era and everything. Honestly, I think at the Chad Henne to Tyreek Hill.
Oh yeah, that's right.
In the
That was
playoff
huge.
game.
Wow.
Well, that was fourth
See?
down, right?
Was that? I thought
That was
third,
fourth-
I thought it was third down.
I thought that was fourth. Wasn't
I
that
thought it was
fourth down?
Was it
too,
fourth
yeah.
down?
Because
All
third
right,
down,
then.
he almost picked up the first down.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right with his legs.
Because he
almost picked it up.
dove.
Yep.
See,
and
then
then
it is a Patrick Mahomes stat.
yeah, the fourth down's obviously Andy Reid is scheming.
Well,
Yeah.
he came up with it. He was eating a corn dog, and he goes, "Wait a minute, I have a play."
What if? And somebody got ready to drop off the corn dog to him, and they immediately turned around and went the other way because
Yeah,
it was to the
like
other table. And he
almost
was
like a whip route, almost.
Well, hold
he had
on.
whiplash.
The motion
The
came
corn
this way,
dog.
and it stopped right before it got, and then it went the other. Wait a minute, bing, light bulb. Trey Smith is trying to put people's lights out on the field. Nick Bolton's being talked about, obviously. Creed Humphrey got his money. Trey Smith, is
Yeah.
he a guy that the Chiefs can afford to pay? Is he a guy the Chiefs can afford to let walk? If that makes sense.
Ooh, you sneaky guy. That's
Yeah.
look. No, this is not.
Yeah.
This is not sports or leisure with a riddle. We're not doing
That's right.
riddles.
Yeah.
Here's the really, really difficult, crappy thing about Trey Smith is that I think it would be absolutely reasonable for the Chiefs to offer Trey Smith essentially the same deal that they offered to Creed Humphrey. I think it would be good money. Problem is that I think that if Trey gets to March as a free agent, he's going to get more than that.
Yeah, he's gonna
I mean,
come over the top of that number.
If he keeps playing the way he is, then yeah, I mean he's going to be probably one of, if not the highest paid guard in the league.
Yeah, get more than Robert Hunt. That's he's going to be more valuable than that.
Yeah.
Because especially like his pass protection is better this year. I mean, everybody in the interior is having career years in terms of some of the Pro Football Focus numbers. But the way this team has changed their identity into more of a power run game and what they're doing between the tackles, like they're either running behind Trey Smith or they're running the other way and Trey Smith is pulling. Like he is such a connected AB to the power run game and Kareem Hunt and what he's doing by them running and designing and scheming runs that involve Trey Smith and his skill set. That's why I say, can they afford not to keep him? Because he's been so valuable for this team. It's been so valuable.
Yeah, he really has. And and I mean, you let him walk, and what do you get? You get a third round pick. I mean, that's not even close to replacing Trey Smith because you're not going to replace Trey Smith with a third round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if it was a sixth round pick.
He wasn't a sixth round talent.
He wasn't a sixth round talent.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs took a very really to me, I don't think it was a calculated risk. It was an extremely safe risk.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, I think, a mistake of obviously 32 NFL teams made mistakes in the medicals and thinking that this was going to be a problem.
Well, and then we find out like a
And
year and a
then-
half later, Trey Smith said he was misdiagnosed.
And then,
Like, imagine if that came out before the draft that he was misdiagnosed. Chiefs ain't getting him in the sixth. Trey Smith is on another team right now.
yeah. So
He is ranked 7th, according to PFF, of all guards. Joe
that good?
Tooney's actually ranked 3rd of all guards.
Is that good?
And for you KU fans, Dominic Pooney is ranked 11th. So KU fans.
Yeah, he's been one of the best rookies in,
Yeah, Pooney's been
in
great.
the league. I mean, Pooney's been really, really good. The one thing I would wonder is with Joe Tooney's contract and the amount of cap space he's taking up, and Juwan Taylor, the amount of cap space he's taking up, Creed Humphrey is now the highest paid center. Is there a way for them to structure it where they pay Trey Smith, and while Joe Tooney's contract next year he'll play, and then it'll come off the books? Can they find a replacement for Joe Tooney? So then Trey Smith's cap hit becomes what Joe Tooney's is this year. And then Jawan Taylor comes off the books, and Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey's cap hit becomes closer to what Jawan Taylor and Joe Tooney are, and you find a replacement at right tackle. Is it workable that way to where, okay, it would make sense. It doesn't seem like it makes sense on the surface. You can't pay Tooney, Creed, Trey Smith, and Jawan Taylor, but that's not how the cap hits work year by year. Is that doable to design it that way? It would put pressure on Brett Veach to find a left guard and a right tackle cheaper if you're going to pay Creed and Trey Smith.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pay Trey Smith, then, a couple of things have to happen. One is that by the time Jawan Taylor's off the books, Kingsley Suamadia and Wanye Morris have to be your starting tackles.
Yeah.
If they're not, that's
or you found a steal in the fourth or fifth round or something.
You're going to have to draft another tackle that's a starting tackle.
Yeah. Or maybe you trade up, and Kingsley's your right tackle. You trade up, and you found your left tackle, and you move on.
Because remember, too, I mean, you've also got to try and start finding a way to pay Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis.
Yes, that window opens this summer.
In a few months, exactly. I mean, that window opens in January.
Yeah, January.
So,
I said this summer, but
I mean,
I'm just thinking of the negotiations that take place over the summer when the window opens up. But yes, it opens up before that.
And with both of those players, I mean, when it gets to that point, I mean, you got the fifth-year options for both of them, so that helps out as far as team control. And you've got the franchise tag that can help out there. Franchise tag for Trey Smith does you no good, because there's only an offensive line franchise tag. There's not a guard franchise tag. Yeah. So if you're going to tag Trey Smith, you're going to be paying him the money of the top 5, top 3 left tackles in the league. Yeah. So his number, I haven't seen it yet. I'm assuming it's going to would be a mid-30s for an offensive line.
And that would give you a negative 50% chance of them putting the franchise tag on him.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no way. You can't franchise tag a guard. I mean, it just makes zero sense for you whatsoever.
The number I'm seeing for this year's franchise tag was $20.9 million for offensive linemen.
Gosh, that seems awfully.
It seems low.
Awfully low. I mean, it could be just there's always
O-line. I see franchise tag according to Over the Cap now. I've looked at multiple. It says 20.9 for Over the Cap is what it was. 2025
lower, but
2025's projected franchise tag for O-line's $25 million.
Yeah.
That's lower than I would have a whole lot lower than I would have.
But it's still $25 million.
But still $25 million.
Still $25 million. It's still more than any guard is getting.
Still more than any guard is getting.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, honestly, I mean, if you're going to be longer term, just beyond even 1 year, if you're going to sign Trey Smith, I mean, it affects other positions too. It means that you're going to be a little bit limited in what you can afford at wide receiver to rebuild that room, because you're really at a spot where you've got to rebuild it.
Yeah.
What'd you do at corner? I mean, are you going to pay Trent McDuffie? Because to this point, the Chiefs haven't paid a corner.
I say yes.
I mean, I say yes, too. And if that's the case, then that means you have to keep drafting young corners that you can pay to be cheap elsewhere.
Just pull the Saints. But you actually have talented players, so you can just keep winning.
Keep restructuring and restructuring and restructuring and restructuring, but winning while you're doing it.
But winning while you're doing it, yeah.
That's
the Saints, clearly, the salary cap is real for 31 teams, and it's fake, apparently, for the Saints.
Well, it's fake enough to where they draft middle of the first round every year.
And to make no mistake, I mean, the 2026 draft is going to be really key for the Chiefs. Because if you look at this year's draft, the free agent class, and who the free agents are going to be in March, and that's the ones for once the comp picks in 2026 are determined.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are going to have a bonanza of surplus picks probably in 2026. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with 4 or 5, maybe 6 picks, because they're probably going to lose a bunch of free agents this year, because there's some guys that are just not going to be able to re-sign. Tershawn Wharton, are you going to be able to re-sign him? I mean, Derek Nottie, re-sign him. I mean, Justin Reed, Nick Bolton. I mean, if you sign, especially if you sign Trey Smith,
Hollywood and Hopkins.
And I mean, they both would qualify too if they don't bring them back. Joshua Uche would qualify if you don't bring him back. That was one of the calculations in that
Charles
trade.
Omenihu, potentially?
Could.
Potentially,
this was last year, yeah.
I mean, there's a slew of guys that could get them comp picks in 2026. So. and they'll probably sign a free agent or two,
Mhm.
but not
That
necessarily.
formula won't really even out.
Not necessarily. No, it's not going to even out that
Yeah.
formula at all. So, it's going to put whatever you do, and especially if you sign Trey Smith, but whatever ends up happening, but signing Trey Smith puts even more pressure on that 2026 draft.
Real quick before we go to break, if you re-sign Trey Smith mid-season, that doesn't go to the free agent formula, right? But if he becomes a free agent and you sign him, that does go to the formula?
If you re-sign your own
Or
free
if
agent,
you
it
would-
does not count.
Okay, so if
against
you
the
re-
formula.
so even if he goes free agency, they're not going to put the franchise tag on him. They work with him, they re-sign him. It's not a formula.
retaining your own free agents does
Okay,
not apply
cool,
to the
Cool.
formula.
Just checking. Somebody had texted, and I knew the answer. I just wanted to make sure you knew the answer. As
You know
well.
what? I'll admit it. I didn't know the answer. I'll
No,
be.
I
I'll be
obviously-
the.
I
I
obviously
texted
did
you,
not- yeah.
Jason. I texted you. I was the texter.
Clearly did not know the answer to that one. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll look at the little bit of the AFC picture, and then of course we will get Matt Derrick's thoughts on the Denver Broncos coming up on Sunday out at Arrowhead. More Zone next. Matt, are the Chiefs lucky, or do they just find ways to win?
Clearly, it's not luck because the referees are on their side.
That's a good point. So yes, it is. It is not luck.
It's referee skill.
Yes, I went and looked since the Chiefs lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game in the 2021 season. They have played 33 one-score games, and they are 25-8. 25-8 in one-score games since they lost that overtime game. Their overall record is 40-9 since they lost that game to the Bengals. They won 2 Super Bowls. They're undefeated this year. That's not luck, right? I mean, maybe there's an element there, but you don't go 25-8 over a 33-game span in one-score games by the ball bouncing your way every time.
No, and you're typically going to win more games than not when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback and Andy Reid's your head coach.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems to be the really short answer to the how did the Chiefs win all these close games? Is it just luck? No, they got the best coach and the best player. I mean,
yeah.
And they got the best defensive coordinator. So
and one of the best defensive pass rushers in all of football in Chris Jones.
Yeah, I mean they
sometimes
have
talent
yeah.
matters.
sometimes,
for sure.
Sometimes talent does rise to the top.
But it is
Sometimes
also
in
sort
the
of
NFL with parity.
Yeah.
Occasionally parity gets broken.
right. But it is also interesting. Like we talk about that with the Chiefs, but like I think Lou Anarumo is a damn fine defensive coordinator. And Zach Taylor is supposed to be, the Sean McVay great offensive mind. And you've got Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson having career years this year. Yet they're 4-6. You've got a great defensive coordinator, a good offensive mind, quarterback, receiver, and pass rusher that are having some of the best years of their career.
And that happens
and still
when
4-6.
That happens when you pay what little money you have that you're willing to pay. You pay to your offensive players and let all your defensive players walk, and then expect Lou Anarumo to pull out miracles with hobos off the street.
Right, with guys that aren't the names and the faces that were there before. So, all right, Denver Broncos this weekend. What do you think of this matchup, Matt? The Chiefs are now 7.5-point favorites going into this game. What do you think of the matchup, and if you have a score in mind for us?
Two very, very good defenses, absolutely. Broncos are an up-and-coming team because of the defense. Bo Nix has been playing better. I still don't see what Sean Payton says when he thinks he's in Patrick Mahomes' class, but he's playing better. This, to me, comes down to the quarterbacks versus the defensive coordinators. Vance Joseph is great. Patrick Mahomes is better, and I think he's seen everything that Vance Joseph has. Bo Nix has not yet seen anything that Spagnuolo has. So I'm expecting a little bit of a regression this week from Bo Nix. I see another Chiefs playing a Chiefs game, 27-17. I think I pick something around there every single week because it seems like the Chiefs are always within plus or minus 3 of 27.
Somebody needs to remind me for next week when we have Matt on. I got to go back and look at all the predictions and the scores that he gave us throughout these Fridays or Thursdays or whenever to see what the scores are, the finals, because it's probably been right around there. Matt, you're the man. Appreciate it, brother.
Take care, guys.
Kendall Gammon next.
touchdown difference.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you to Matt Derrick. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. Joining us now, it is Kendall Gammon here in the zone on this Friday. Kendall, what is up, brother? How are you, sir?
Not much, Jason. How you doing this fine day?
I am doing just fine. What you got going on after we are done here? You going to go check out some War Horses for veterans? I know you're rocking the shirt today. It always reminds me that you've got that going on with them, which is such a cool deal.
No, I appreciate that. WHFV.org to find out more there. No, actually, this morning I went to the Lenexa Community Center. Today is the 249th anniversary of the United States Marine Corps, and the police chief there at Lenexa has a I would say a private function. There was about 300 folks there, Marines and vets and whatnot, and just a great thing. So that was really cool. I was there with Joey Zeb and a few guys who played football at Pitt State, but they're also a Marine. So did that stuff and go have lunch afterwards with a good high school buddy. So, just
what a good day.
It is going to be a good day. Plus, I'm in here.
I get
to see you.
All right, well, I got to go do this thing real quick, and then I get to go back to having fun with people I like.
Yeah. People say that mainly about me when things are going on.
People that have actually done something for this country, and then I'm going to go spend time with this guy who does nothing and talk sports all day. Then I get to go and hang out with other people that have done stuff for the country. That's great. That's really cool, though. I didn't realize that this was the anniversary of that. So that's
it's the birthday
neat.
every year. I guess that's a
really
big thing. I've heard as well. It should be 249. My goodness.
But also, like, I would wonder with your connection with the War Horses for Veterans that when you're around them, does that ever come up? Do conversations like that, or is it just you guys just shooting the breeze and hanging out and not really talking shop like that?
Yeah, no, people do have a clue. And then we've War Horses has actually brought on a new site called warhorsesnetwork.org, and what that is basically to aggregate information for vets and first responders. So our goal is not to be the one who helps more people than somebody else. Our goal is to help as many people as possible. So other nonprofits and charities, they're on that site, mental health articles, food articles, things like that stuff, just trying to help people.
Yeah. Kendall Gammon is our guest. All right, Kendall, let's start with this. The win over the Buccaneers on Monday night. Takeaway and reaction from the Chiefs remaining unbeaten. They have won 14 games in a row, which we know in the NFL is pretty easy to do.
Yeah, that's happens all the time.
A lot of teams go 14 straight games without a loss. But what do you take away from the win against the Buccaneers on Monday night?
I think the main thing is just if the Chiefs need a field goal, they're going to go get a field goal. If they need a touchdown, they're going to go do that. They just figure out a way. And generally, I say if they need to get a stop defensively, they're going to get a stop. They didn't in this case. But again, it was close. I don't know why Todd Bowles doesn't go for it, and we can talk about that later on. But either way, in my mind, the Chiefs were going to win somehow. I mean, that's what happens when you've won 13 in a row, and now it's 14. But man, they just doing some good things, and obviously we'll talk about it. They're ascending. I mean, I think the ceiling for the offense, I don't think the offense is anywhere near as good as it can be.
No, I'm in agreement. I think it's a really interesting way of phrasing that if they need a field goal, they'll go get it. If they need a touchdown, they'll go get it. And I think to the playoffs last year, against the Bills, they almost had that thing locked up, and then an unfortunate fumble goes to the end zone, and the defense has to go out there and make some other plays. And the defense needed a stop, and they got a stop. And they forced a longer field goal than what the Bills would have liked. And there was an open player, but Chris Jones walked the left tackle, Deion Dawkins, back into Josh Allen, threw him off his platform a little bit, and there's an incomplete pass. The next week against the Ravens, they get multiple stops in the end zone with turnovers, and then they have to get a first down to ice the clock. And Mahomes throws it to MVS, like a guy that has
been catching the ball all year long.
Yes, exactly. Like they needed it.
Not.
They did it. Like plays that are made in that time. And, of course, the Chiefs need a field goal at the end of regulation against the 49ers. They get it. And they need at least a field goal in overtime, and they get more than that. Both of those. They don't get a score on either one of those San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl drives. They lose. They have to have – it was a do or die. You have to have a field goal at least both times. And they end up coming away with 9 points there. And they've done it this year. They had to get a stop against the Ravens. It was by a couple of centimeters, but it was still a stop.
Right.
They needed the field goal against the Bengals. Time is expiring. The ball is in the air, and they're winning. They had to get stops against the Chargers. They did that. They needed to win in overtime against the Buccaneers. Like, it's crazy in this 14-game winning streak that it's a great way of putting it. Like, if they've got to get something done, they just simply find a way to do it.
They do, and when you talk about motivation and inspiration and things, and you always hear the thing of expand your comfort zone, get uncomfortable, so then your comfort zone gets bigger, and that's what they've done in all these single point games or single score games. They've done it so often that now when it happens, it's not something that really comes as a surprise, and it doesn't rattle them.
How does it, as a former player, I went through and looked, going back to the Chiefs' loss to the Bengals in overtime in the AFC Championship game in 2021. Since that time, in the last 2 years and now 8 games of this year, they have played 33 one-score games, and they are 25-8 in that time. So, I was talking with Matt Derrick. I'm like, that's not luck that they do that.
No.
But as a former player and going through the week leading up, the details, the minutia, the preparation, the game plan, all of that it can be debilitating to continually lose one-score games. It's what the Bengals were talking about last night. They were all down because they're 1-5 in one-score games this year. And the Chiefs are undefeated in one-score games this year. Is there anything tangible like you can look at and why plays are made here or there? Like, it was one of the themes of the press conference this week, Kendall, with Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy and Andy Reid. I think it was Vahe that was asking the question, like, you guys are winning these one-score games. What's going on? Why do you think it is? And Andy Reid said, well, we have guys that do things at opportune times. In sort of the bigger moments, those things happen. But do they just happen? Like, as a former player?
They don't just happen. I mean, I think the game's just not too big. You've got, I think, superior talent that knows how to step up and make plays, and I think it goes back to the coaching. I think Big Red kind of shooted it a little bit, but I remember, and I'm sure he does this now, which is you have different situations. You do it each and every day. It's you've got a minute and a half, you've got one timeout, you're down by 3, you need this, things of that nature, and you get used to practicing those things. And I remember at the time, like, I don't know if this really, I mean, we're kind of playing pretend, but you're not, because you're working on things, and now when you get into the game, if you practice like performance, then you perform like practice, and it's just second nature. I got all kinds of quotes going today. I know, I appreciate that. Yeah, all kinds of quotes going today. But I think those things are true, and again, I think it goes back to you've been in so many and you've come out on the right end of the stick so much. I mean, mindset and the mindset you take to your performance, to the team's performance of how things are going, I think is so very important.
Well, I mean, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Boom. Touché.
Seneca.
Yeah, there you go.
Michael Scott.
Exactly.
Seneca, Michael Scott, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky.
Two in the same.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Kendall Gammon is our guest, and yes, they've found ways to come through in those particular moments and made some of those plays, and it obviously is not all luck. Things happen, and
but there is some luck at times.
Well,
sometimes
for sure.
things just happen. But again, it's scripted also. So I mean, it has to go to how things are. That's where we're getting now.
There's luck, air quotes,
Exactly.
that falls within the parentheses of the script. That this is where the ball will bounce a certain way, and this guy won't recover it. And the ball bounced right into a Chiefs player's arm. But you talked about sort of the situational football and practicing those things.
Yes.
And hey, this is make believe or this is fake. Well, actually, it's not. The Chiefs talked about this week with those long drives that they've been able to put together and score in the last couple of weeks, and went back and they're talking about it at training camp. Like Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce talked about when they first started the New Heights. It was one of the things that Jason Kelce was like, the long drive drill. Oh, I hate those.
It's
It's
awful.
the worst.
Absolutely.
And Travis is like, it's terrible. And Jason's like, is he still doing that? And Travis is like, yep, he's still doing it. And they talk about that too, that those are things that that translate. Like, I do wonder, practicing certainly helps, right? I mean, Nick Saban said you don't practice till you get it right. You practice till you can't get it wrong.
Right.
And so practicing helps, but I wonder, because there's been actual football evidence of some of the things they practice and do to prepare that results in success on the field, if the players have more of a belief that this does translate, whereas if you're not seeing some of that impact, you might just be like, well, we're going through, this is what we have to do today to get to the end of practice,
Right.
and we'll do this, and
Yeah.
whatever that is. And you almost, I don't know, maybe it starts to build on itself. Like, no, I know this is going to matter in week 11, so I'm doing this on August 5th.
Right.
And I'm going to focus on August 5th because this will help on, October, 17th.
I think you're right on, and I think that starts, quite honestly, with the head coach and the communication and how he communicates to the team and the importance and getting them to take it. Because at some point in time, you haven't had all this experience, and you're doing these same things, and you have to see how one affects the other. And then as you see that success, you're like, okay. And then I think you just continue to build on it. But what you bring up is a great point, because when you've seen the success and you can take it back to what we worked on last week, I'm sure there's been times where Big Red has probably talked to the team the next week and say, you remember when we did such and such? And that's just what happened in the game. I mean, we're right there with those situations. And it's huge. And quite honestly, all this stuff of the one-score games also, as an aside, I think is why the NFL is so darn popular, because the games are that close and there's that much parity.
It's funny you mentioned that. I wanted to pull up this tweet that I saw and took a picture of, because it was really interesting. From Brian McCarthy, works in PR for the NFL. The 2024 season is the most competitive NFL season to date. 75 games have been decided by 7 points or fewer, and 65 by 6 points or less. Both have been the most through Week 9 in NFL history. So through 9 weeks, this has been the most competitive season in NFL history, with 75 games decided by 7 points or less, 65 by 6 points or less this year. So you're absolutely right. Who finds ways to win those close games is the team that will find ways to win in the playoffs and will be holding the Lombardi Trophy.
But like the Bengals, what'd you say they've lost?
1-5.
1-5. Okay, so that
One-score
fan
games.
base is like, okay, I mean, we could easily be 5-1 in
Yeah.
those games or whatever. So it even keeps the teams that have poor records, in the mix as well in terms of thinking. And I mean, the NFL sells the present, but they also sell the future and the hope of what their team can be as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals lost on the road last night to the Ravens and at home to the Ravens like 4 weeks ago. They lost by a total of 4 points.
Right.
One of those games in overtime. If you, and it's a capital I, capital F,
Oh.
if you flip those results, the Ravens are 5-5 and the Bengals are 6-4.
There you go.
That's 4 points of a difference of the Bengals having a 1-game lead on the Ravens and no tiebreaker, as opposed to a 3-game deficit and the Ravens have the tiebreaker the rest of the way, and you're sitting 4-6. Like, it's just a play here or
That's
there.
the thing. Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
And after that game, I texted. Because obviously Mahomes and what he did, how he threw the ball, and we can talk about that, is amazing in general. Let alone the conditions that he was doing it in. But I'll tell you, the other guy that's important with that is Winchester. And I texted him the next day. I said, "Dude, great job. Nobody understands how more than me how difficult that is, because I mean, those extra points, those field goals, that's important, and you need that operation or getting the punts off, that stuff. You can't have anything bad happen in special teams, because that generally tips the scale."
Good point. That's a really good point, because when it's wet and never, like, how do you?
It ain't easy.
What do you
I
do?
lost years off my life now. I'm not going to tell you. I needed a stiff drink after a few games.
Is there anything on the sideline you do to get ready for? I mean, is there anything you do to sort of be out there and know that, all right, this snap is going to go this way? I mean, do you put water on the football before you snap it on the sideline? Like, what do you do?
Not on the side. Well, you've got balls. No, because the balls, they do a good job in the NFL taking care of the balls. And it's
Now they do, but I don't know. Did they do that back when you played?
Pretty much they
Okay.
did for the
All
most
right.
part. But sometimes it's bad, and I can remember snapping in practice and dipping a ball in the water and putting it down there, and you get used to it and learn how you've got to deal with things. But these days also, it does help the fact that each ball is probably worked in with Mississippi mud for probably 25-30 minutes each. So it's a pretty cool deal.
It's crazy how much that goes into like one football.
Yeah, I know, exactly right. Yeah, and I think they bring 24 to the meeting, and then they pick out 12.
Spend all that time
Yep.
working in these footballs for so they feel a certain way, and then you got officials that can't see a face mask right in front of them. So
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I think you've seen
this work.
that social media a while back, or maybe it was on quarterback. I don't know, where Mahomes is I mean, Chris Shropshire, that is easy for me to say, is the one who works the balls in, assistant equipment manager, does a great job along with Alan Wright and the whole group.
Yeah.
But he's taken each ball that he's worked in, and he's like, yes, no.
That's right, yeah.
Yes, no. I mean, it's History of the World Part 1. Yes, yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah.
If you don't know what I'm talking
because
about,
because he's gripping it. And he's like,
Yeah,
okay, and
yep,
then he slides
yes.
it aside. All right, yep, I like this one. Yep,
Right.
this one feels good. Like, it is amazing. Mike Boddicker and Jeff Montgomery talk about, like, when they would get a baseball on the mound, when, like, you know, a baseball goes out of play, it's a
Yep.
foul ball, and an umpire would throw in the ball, and they would touch it. They would immediately be able to feel if there's a millimeter difference in the seam, and,
Yep.
and you wave sort of like, nope, not that one, I want another. Like, I mean, I know that they have had, you know, baseballs in their hand their whole life, and they've
Right.
thrown so many pitches, but it is amazing that you can just immediately feel like that
You really can.
small. And when Mahomes is like, all right, I like that one. No, that doesn't feel quite right. It's like they're all aired to the exact same, you know,
Theoretically. Theoretically.
they are all supposed to be
Yeah.
at the exact
Tom
same
Brady's
weight
like, wait a
level.
minute here.
That's exactly right. It's supposed to be. Kendall Gaiman is our guest. He is presented by Crown Toyota, Crown Volkswagen. What should be a reasonable expectation for a new player to integrate into a system and into a team? Because DeAndre Hopkins is not the normal,
No, he is
not the typical, like, oh, week 2 here,
Yeah.
this is what he's doing. What would be a reasonable expectation if DeAndre Hopkins was a normal player of what you would think the impact could be?
I would say 3 full weeks.
Yeah.
You know, but he's a pro's pro. I mean, he's got he's got Hall of Fame numbers, and you just see how he holds himself and everything. As he said, he's doing everything within his power. You know, in first in, last out, and doing all kinds of things. And I thought it was interesting that he praised the coaching staff in terms of how they were teaching things and how much time they were spending with him. And obviously, it's shown through this last week. And I think it's only going to continue to improve. Doesn't mean that he's going to have, you know, more catches and more yards, but he's still going to make a difference.
The Chiefs, you know, going for a three-peat, and I think one of the you got to find the motivation. You got to find the carrot out there. You got to find a reason each and every week, besides being a professional, right?
Right.
To go out and you know, whether they say, oh, this is the next game, it's the most important game, like playoffs, different. There's a different level of intensity and focus for games like that. One of the concerns I think every offseason that the Chiefs should have is when you go into the next year, coming off of a Super Bowl, how do you freshen it up with players that haven't done that and have that drive and that I want to be here and I am working the extra 5 minutes or the extra reps on the bench press or the squat or whatever it might be to get the Super Bowl. You guys are getting your rings. I'm on this team and you guys are going through your ring ceremony and I'm staying home because I didn't get one. I want to be there next year. How important is it, do you think, where, you know, specifically a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, who darn near got emotional on Monday night,
Right.
talking about being here and manifesting this, and I envision this, you know, and I, you know, wanting to win and that extra drive that it brings. How much does that matter for a team that is going through trying to win their 3rd in a row? And this is like, okay, we won again, right? No, we won again, we won again, all right, we won again. To have a guy come in and be like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm here. I want this so bad to do what you guys have done.
I think you kind of answered the question, which is, yeah, you get a few fresh guys in, and you know, sometimes I liken it back to when I was with the Steelers. I remember when the late Kevin Green came in, I think my 3rd year, and I mean, I think I remember him talking about the fact, and listen, guys, you guys have been in the playoffs each and every year. I've been playing ball out in L.A. and not doing anything. I'm here because I want to get a ring, and we did, and we got to the Super Bowl, AFC Championship twice. But yeah, when you get guys like that in there, it does help remind the other guys that, you know what, you can't take this for granted. But I also think you don't win 2 in a row and have the success that Andy Reid has if you're not able to communicate that effectively in the meetings.
Yeah, if you don't win 2 in a row and 14 straight games with complacency.
You do not.
You don't get bored playing football during the regular season and start 8-0.
Right. Well, I mean, last year his mantra was, you know, you've got a chance to set yourself apart and be one of only 8 teams to do it twice. Now he's like, now you've got a chance to set yourself apart and be the only one ever. And I mean, arguably, to think that 3 in a row would be done again if it's done now, it'd be a long time coming. It'd be at least 3 years coming.
That's exactly right. I've presented it this way for the opportunity the Chiefs have and the situation they're in. I don't know if there will be a team that three-peats in the future. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to three-peat this year. But the way that I've presented it is in the salary cap era with a quarterback's value becoming exponentially higher and higher, there may not be a team that is in a better position personnel-wise, coaching staff-wise, to win 3 in a row than what the Chiefs are this year, because you don't typically get your coaching staff and players that, for the most part, are all the same for the last couple of years, 3 years later going for a three-peat. Those guys have been picked apart. Your offensive coordinator's gone. Your defensive coordinator's gone. Like the Ravens are talking about, my concern with the Ravens this year, preseason, we talked with Cynthia Freeland. I said, my concern is the brain drain on defense. They've lost almost every one of their coaches. They lost their secondary coach, their linebacker coach, their defensive line coach, their defensive coordinator, all in different places. They have 3 different guys that were on the team, 4 guys that were on the coaching staff last year on defense that are defensive coordinators in the NFL now. They're all gone, except for one who became the defensive coordinator in Baltimore. Like, that continuity, it's unheard of in the NFL as it is, but for 3 years running and winning back-to-back and have your front office, your coaching staff, and players, I don't know that there will ever be a team set up in a more prime position than the Chiefs are to win 3 in a row.
That's a good point, and I think that starts, number one, with Clark Hunt and the organization, and then you've got Andy Reid, you've got Mark Donovan. Of course, his roots go back to Philadelphia also, and they've created an environment that people want to be a part of. You're treated the right way here. Doesn't mean that you're coddled and that there aren't hard decisions made, but you're treated the right way. You're treated fairly, and that's something that doesn't happen in the NFL all that often. And I've been around. I mean, I played 15 years. I've been in some great situations. I've been in some poor situations. I think I played for 2 of the best family-run organizations when you look at the Steelers and the Rooneys and, of course, the Hunts here. I mean, it's a special place. And I remember early on when Mark Donovan got here, and we were talking to groups on the road before games that would come with us, and he talked about, we're preparing to win, we're getting ready to win, and he was talking about the business side of things. But that was what was going on with everything. Of course, that's before Big Red got here. But all the same, I think Mark being here, which was a pickup by Clark Hunt, that helped get Andy here. I mean, it's a pretty cool thing. Just everything kind of aligned.
Monday night, Chiefs take care of the Bucs in overtime. As a player, we heard the Bengals players last night were, yes, I want my coach to go. We wanted to go for 2. That was the right call. We wanted to be out there and go for 2. It didn't come through, but that was the call we were all on board with, and I want to do it again the next time we're in that situation. Travis and Jason Kelsey on the New Heights podcast both said I would have liked to go for 2 if I was in that situation. Buccaneers players haven't weighed in on that side of it of, well, we got to execute. That's all it was. We got to execute. Defense, we got to get off the field. Offense, we could have done this or that's better, which is what you would say if you're a Buccaneer player. As a player, would you have wanted, if you're on the sideline with the Bucs, to let's go for 2 right now, knowing that it's not one play and you win? The Chiefs will still get the ball. They got 27 seconds and a couple of timeouts, but would you have wanted them to go for 2? Did you think they should have gone for 2 in that moment?
I do, because I think if you asked the head coach, the fan base, anybody before the game, listen, you're going to have an extra point at the end of the game, and if you make it, you win the game. If not, you lose. And you're just like, I will take those odds, considering this is a 2-time Super Bowl champion who is undefeated right now. I think
we've got everybody, and we've got everybody injured almost on offense.
Yes,
so many
absolutely.
guys.
I got injured while I was saying it. So it's I don't get it at all. That makes no sense. And what you said with Tampa Bay and their answers, which translated means we would have gone for it, but we don't want to tick our coach off.
We're not going to say.
We're not going to call him out. Which is good
say
for
I
them.
would have liked to go for it. Of course not. We got to do our job.
Yes.
We didn't get a stop defensively. Offensively, we didn't score enough points. We had opportunities in the game, and we didn't get it done.
When you start explaining things like that after that question, it's like, okay, I know what he's saying.
Yeah, because it seems pretty universal. A lot of players were like, man, I would have liked to see them go for 2. Okay. Now, last night, the Bengals went for 2, didn't get it.
Yep, it happens.
But it doesn't mean it was the wrong decision to go for 2. It didn't work. And, the Buccaneers' decision could have worked. If
and I think they would have had the same mantra, which is if they went for 2 and didn't make it, they were like, no, 100%, we wanted to go for it. I think that's would have been.
We were in that position, and it didn't work out. It certainly could have worked out differently, that if the coin, falls a different
Yes.
way and they receive and the Chiefs defense can't get a stop or whatever. I did think it was funny. Baker Mayfield said, and I would love if there was a video of the coin hitting the ground. And he said, I think he called tails. And he said, last week he had called heads and it came up tails. And he said, so this week I called tails. He said, and it came up heads. He goes, if you look at the turf was wet and it landed in a spot and it looked like it was about to turn over and then it just stopped. And he was like, I really think that was going. I want to see it.
Pretty funny.
I want to see if that, because
Yeah.
he was sort of lamenting and sort of joke a little
Yep.
bit about that happened. I've come to really like Baker Mayfield
I have
over
too.
the years.
I, I go all the way back to. I love the fact that he was not at the draft. I mean, he's a first-round pick, but
Yeah,
he was
that's
with
right.
his family there. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah, Denver Broncos this weekend. Chiefs and Denver. Noon on Sunday. What do you think of this matchup? Two really good defenses. A rookie quarterback
Right.
versus probably the GOAT.
Yeah, I was talking with J.C. Pearson yesterday or the day
Name drop. You wanna
before.
pick that name
I
up?
do in a minute. Yeah, easy now. And
Yeah.
if J.C. is listening, I hope you get better. He had a little bit of an accident.
Oh, no.
But all the same, I just asked him. He said, as a defensive back, if it's a rookie, are you trying to alter coverages and confuse him? He goes, absolutely. You got to make sure they can pass the test, and that's what Steve Spagnuolo will do, I think. So absolutely, try to confuse him, see if he can handle himself.
What do you think happens on Sunday? Does that happen? And if you have a score in mind?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs win 24-14.
24-14. You've got a 10-point win. Matt Derrick has a 10-point win
Yeah.
for the Chiefs. That would be them covering. I like the Chiefs to cover this weekend, but we'll see what ends up happening. They've had
They
some
don't
trouble.
cover often,
They've
though.
had some trouble the last couple of weeks
Yeah. A
covering.
Good coach wins. Great coaches cover.
Yeah, and Andy Reid is yet to be a great coach in
No.
my mind.
There you go. All he does is win Super Bowls.
Yeah, but does he cover the spread?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on. Let's call a spade here. Yeah, you can find a Super Bowl trophy here or there.
Right.
In the couch cushions. Okay, but do you find a Super Bowl trophy while cashing tickets for people that had their money on you? That's the
We
difference.
need the total package.
That's exactly right. Kendall Gammon's the total package. He's presented by Crown Toyota and Crown Volkswagen. Kendall, great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll talk next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
Absolutely. There's Kendall Gammon, presented by Crown Toyota and Crown Volkswagen. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hang out with Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. We got Sad Fans coming up later on this hour. Fast Friday with Andy Reid. We'll tell you who's lighting it up. We'll get our predictions for the weekend as well. More Zone next. Fan of the sad fans.
I love
Next segment.
I love other people's pain.
Schadenfreude. A little bit of that. You know?
Yep.
It was a little Schadenfreude last night with both teams.
Is that a town in Germany that I should have visited last year?
I'm not sure. You can go check it out, but it would just be a bunch of other people that are celebrating your demise or other people's demise.
I was
It's
in
odd.
Germany this time last year.
Yeah.
It keeps popping up on my phone.
Where else
It's
you
just
go?
that town that gains
Mostly
their
Frankfurt.
happiness and their economy based on other towns around them that fail.
Yeah, I love it.
Do you know any German like Ich liebe Bier? That means I,
love
love beer.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thanks.
Or
I've lived.
Wo ist ein Badzimmer?
Where is the bathroom?
Yeah, where's the bathroom?
Yeah.
Donde está el baño?
I took German in high school and took a German class trip there.
Woher kommen Sie?
Where did I go?
Where are you
There,
from?
where am I from? Yeah.
Woher kommen Sie?
Come and see what?
Get
And who's
culture, read
Voltaire?
a book.
Voltaire, come and see. This is really cool over here. Come on over here. Yeah, this is.
I
this is right.
love it that they all speak English over there, so that
That's great.
really helped.
That's great.
Wait, actually?
Oh yeah, especially in Frankfurt. Frankfurt is a very evolved city.
Yeah, they
over
should.
there. It's like almost like an American type city.
feel like-
Skyscrapers, commerce. It's kind of like the Chicago of Europe.
I feel like the national language of every country should be English. Like it's
Getting there.
It's I don't understand why it
Getting there.
wouldn't be.
The
You know,
the
I
English
mean-
that makes the least amount of sense.
yeah, but that's fine. You know,
German also doesn't make a lot of sense because there's like 12 words for the word the.
Well, there is, and it's very similar to English in sentence structure, to where a lot of times it's subject, verb, object,
well, that's good.
as opposed to Spanish,
Yeah.
where the object is first a lot of
Right.
time, and
Yeah.
the very
But it is confusing because there's 12 words for the, and it's also
all this
masculine or feminine. Yeah.
Yes, I'm good. We have the.
yeah,
That's just for guys and girls.
Or the
The.
occasionally.
To
If you wanna-
have.
yeah.
Yes. If
The
you're talking about
Ohio State. Yeah.
if you're talking about Ohio State, it becomes the horseshoe. The sports director for KSHB 41 is Mick Schaefer, joining us here in the zone. College football, college basketball this weekend. A big one at Allen Fieldhouse, a pretty big one tomorrow at Arrowhead, pretty big one at Faurot Field tomorrow with the locals in action. KU, 7.5-point favorites tonight over North Carolina.
in basketball.
In basketball. That's right. Over North Carolina in basketball. It would be Bill Self tying Rupp.
For wins,
Not Rupp, but
Dean Smith,
Fogg
Fog Allen, yeah,
for wins in the newly
yeah. He talked
beautified.
about that. He was like, "Listen, back then they played 25,
No,
30
don't, nope,
games.
not gonna dismiss it. Not gonna do it.
Now he's
No-
averaging like 29 wins a year.
Yeah, not going to do it. Not going to do it. He's doing it tonight. He's winning that one, and we'll be tying, of course, with all of the vacated ones. I mean, technically, but who cares? All of that stuff. But still, that's going on tonight there at Allen
So
Fieldhouse.
have they subtracted those?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's already been past him, and now he's going to catch him again.
Yeah, is
that-
it-
Well, I don't
Yeah,
think
how
I
did
don't think
that-
he ever caught him the first
He
time.
never got him the first
so he
time.
was close
Okay.
and then moved back, and now we'll get him tonight.
And now we're
then,
cha-chaing.
Cha-cha, real smooth.
Yeah.
And he'll be sashaying throughout the Allen Fieldhouse if he gets the win tonight.
You know what's amazing? Do you know how many times North Carolina and Kansas have played each other in basketball all time?
23.
I want to say it's a lot.
What's
But-
23? What are you going?
It sounds like it's going to be. What's amazing is that they've only matched up like 10 times.
12 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And like,
I would have guessed like 36, 37.
according to Self, he was just estimating. He's like 6 or 8 of those times are in the tournament.
That's true.
To where there have been so few regular season matchups between these two schools that have so much in common. Right? So much of their history is intertwined, yet they've only faced a dozen times, and it's the series is 6-6, and it'll change tonight.
I can guarantee it won't be 500 after tonight.
It will not. Yeah.
Some team will.
Well, they
have
could
to win.
tie.
Can they?
Can they tie? Right? They can tie.
Basketball?
Oh, okay. I guess they can't tie. But no, KU's next two games are pretty big game. North Carolina tonight, and then the Champions Classic on Tuesday against Michigan State.
They always have a killer non-con schedule.
Yeah, because they got Duke
This
2
is
days before
ridiculous.
Thanksgiving.
They got Mizzou, right? Which not a great team, right? But it's
Thank
still
you
it's a
for-
rivalry
thank-
game.
I appreciate that. It's very nice
no,
of you.
yeah,
Threw that in there.
That is like playing
nice of
less than Memphis.
They have Creighton. It's a good one.
Should have
And
loved
then-
Creighton over Mizzou.
And then the Big 12, which now has Arizona at Houston in it.
Yeah, Big 12's pretty good.
They have 20 games.
Pretty good. I don't know if it's worth
conference
$5, but it's pretty freaking good.
So
Big 12 is
with the blue blood battle,
BBB.
the BBB, this
Better
is
Business
big-
Bureau of the Blue Blood Battle.
or Big Baller Brand.
That's cool.
Duke also plays tonight.
Duke is Duke.
How many teams qualify for the blue blood moniker?
No, we've talked about this
Yeah,
before.
let's not go down this
so
rabbit hole.
We're not doing
I
this.
mean,
First of all, you have to have blue in your colors. Indiana, I'm sorry, you're
that's
out.
so great.
Indiana is UConn to surpass, and Indiana is basically the main question.
Absolutely, it should. We're on the same page on this one,
Yes,
right?
I agree. By the way,
You don't have to. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to have been great in the '60s.
Yeah, Indiana has less of a claim to a blue blood than UConn does, to me.
I would agree. I
Well,
think
and look, Duke was a nothing. It was a tiny little private school before Krzyzewski got there.
Yeah.
So Duke was nothing until the '80s.
Right, you know.
But they count as a blue blood.
Adam Dravetta, what
Absolutely.
a great text from him, says the last KU coach to lose to North Carolina was Roy Williams. And 6 months later, they hired Roy Williams. They got that loser. Like, we beat this guy. Why are we hiring him? He'll never win a national championship. Come on, he couldn't win one at Kansas. Why is he going to win one at North
Trying to
Carolina?
think, let's see. They beat him in the Final Four a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They beat him,
Beat him in
to
the Final
get to the Final
Four.
Four in like 2012 to get there.
2008,
They beat him in the Final Four in
dominated
08.
him.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, there was that's interesting. What a great stat, Adam. Thank you. Very
one.
cool. Yeah, no, it's Adam has time to put those stats together because the program's done at 4:30 today. So KU pregame at 4:30 this afternoon.
It's a weird start time, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, so good for them. Good for them. A little shorter. You know what? I feel like Soren's got a lot of things to get. Like, shouldn't he? I feel like maybe 12:30, so he can get the full 4-hour show in. You know,
now?
so 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
That you know what? We'll go till 1. We'll make it an easy transition. We'll just go till 1. That's
fair.
and hand it right over to.
And we'll give
to
him some
Soren.
pizza, too.
You know
Thanks,
what?
Dylan,
Thank
by
you,
the way,
Dylan.
for paying up.
Hey, about time, man. Jeez. I mean, it's nothing worse than 4 or 5 months later.
I still think this is one of Jason's bets he hasn't paid that you just decided, like,
That is-
I'll fork it over.
That is
for
funny
him.
because we were talking about lunch today for a ZOU bet and or another bet, and Mick was like, "So is this one of Jason's or is this not?" I'm, like, I'm paid up now. Okay,
You sure that over under on the Comets from 2013? I don't think
I'm
you
almost paid up now. Okay, I'll get there. Dim, 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 dim,
So
dim,
we're
dim,
all
dim,
paid
dim,
up
dim, dim,
besides
dim, dim,
now
dim,
the
dim.
Royals.
Besides the tie between Mick and Dylan, who tied for.
We're gonna do something special for that.
They both tied for third though. You know.
We did. We didn't know. Neither of us. got
So
fourth.
nobody technically got fourth place. That's weird. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. Sad fans. The Bucks got second place on Monday night between the two teams, and we'll do sad fans with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sad fans from Reddit. We'll do that on the other side of the break. More Zone next.
All right, everyone, before the weekend of NFL and college football, get into Greenlight Dispensary for their November specials. They're still giving away.
And
How fast is it?
It'll be a fast Friday for Andy, I think. And given the direct and more to the point answers that Samaje and Xavier Worthy give, I would guess it'll be a fast Friday overall with Andy, Samaje, and Xavier Worthy. It was a great Monday, fun Monday, winning Monday for the Chiefs, not a winning Monday for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or their fans. So here we go on a Friday, as we do, Sad Fans on Reddit, Buccaneers edition. And now things Buccaneers fans said on Reddit. Liam Cohen is out there calling the offense and exchanging hamstrings on players just to have healthy bodies. It's not easy to do. We cut the worst punter in the league for the second worst punter in the league. Reply, I mean, technically an upgrade. Yeah, I mean, that's right. Announcer, quote, the game should be 7-0 KC. How about eat a bag of
It's an option.
Patrick Mahomes could literally be eating and they'd say he discovered a new probiotic. The Chiefs are the worst undefeated team ever. Reply, the 2020 Steelers have entered the chat.
They're 11-0, right?
Yeah. The Chiefs and the refs. Troy Aikman, too.
Fair.
Throwing it in there.
Why not?
2 near picks. Of course we didn't get them. We never have good things. Reply, didn't you just have Brady in a Super Bowl? Reply, okay, we sometimes have good things. I don't want to see Kelsey wide open in the middle of the field anymore. Reply, then I would close your eyes if I were you. Can someone switch Troy Aikman's whiskey for Gatorade at halftime, please? If you have anything to say about Bowles except that he needs to be fired, then I don't respect you as a Bucs fan. It's to the point. Getting destroyed by the corpse of DeAndre Hopkins in 2024. FML.
The corpse.
God, I hate the Chiefs. Reply, I hate Todd Bowles. Kermit the Frog could go out there and kick the out of the refs, and they would still call roughing the passer for hurting his foot on their body. I wouldn't blame a coach too much if their game plan was a few weeks behind and they weren't accounting for Hopkins being on the Chiefs. Unfortunately, Todd Bowles is about 15 years behind, and his defensive game plan doesn't even account for Hopkins being in the NFL. The 0.2% hope I had dropped to 0.1%. So there's that. They're going to give Patrick Mahomes some tape, a perk, and send him right back out there. Reply, they better. I mean, I've got him over 225 yards passing, and he's only at 190. I mean, that's a realist.
Yeah.
It's great.
Todd Bowles always looks like someone is explaining what a roundabout is to him for the first time. So true. It feels like Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles have different ideas for the team. Like Baker wants to win and Todd Bowles doesn't. I came into this not expecting anything, and I'm still disappointed. Great drive. Let's see if we can stop the refs or Chiefs. Reply, you had it right the first time. Guys, let's be honest. Even if we win the coin toss here, Todd Bowles is going to defer. Yeah, let's not go for 2 on the road against an undefeated team while our entire offense is hurt. I'll take how to be a f***ing moron for 200, Alex. And now the runner-up to things Buccaneers fans said on Reddit. If we somehow score, we better go for 2. We obviously will lose the coin toss, and they'll score immediately in overtime. Reply, hey, can you tell me if my wife gets more than half in our divorce? Deciding if I should file the papers or not. Thanks.
Oh.
And now the winner of things Buccaneers fans said on Reddit. If you're a Democrat, I don't care. If you're a Republican, I don't care. If you're a Chiefs fan, you.
Perfect for the political season.
Great.
It's what all fan bases can agree on outside of Kansas City. Republican, Democrat, Chiefs. Oh, all right. There you go. Sad fans, Buccaneers edition. It is getting exhausting trying to sift through the 90% of just complaining about the refs.
Which was wild in
I don't
that
even
game.
remember that game.
Game.
What were some big calls? I don't remember.
The only one that people are pointing to happened in overtime, which was the non-false start call on Jawan
Oh,
Taylor
yeah. Well, that happens
on 2nd and
a
7.
few times a game with
Yeah.
every right tackle.
Right, but it would be 2nd and 12 for an offense that was driving down the field doing whatever they wanted. But the face mask that should have been holding. Because they looked at it and said it shouldn't have been a penalty at all.
I mean, let's be real. Those guys were salty pirates.
They were, yeah, sure. Yeah. Andy Reid next.
And now on Sports Radio 810 Sports Center.
This is Sports Center. The University of St. Mary offers KC's most flexible MBA. Choose your method, online, on ground, or a blend of both. Join USM for a virtual info session on November 12th. RSVP at stmary.edu/RSVP. In the NFL, Bills rule out rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman with his wrist against the Colts, and the Colts rule out Michael Pittman against the Bills. Cowboys still have confidence high in quarterback Cooper Rush. And right here in Kansas City, Kansas and North Carolina at Allen Fieldhouse, 7.5-point favorites at home against UNC. The Chiefs play Denver on a noon game on Sunday. This is Sports Center.
and Xavier Worthy. Let's head to the practice facility where Andy Reid is there.
Turk practiced today, so and did a pretty good job there. Look forward to the challenge of playing Denver. We know they're a good football team, so look forward to getting here in GH Field and Arrowhead Stadium, so in front of our crowd. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
We good today, guys?
Status will be good for Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, right now, see how it went here. Yeah, but
How has Pat done with the ankle this week?
he's done a good job. Yeah, he hasn't missed. He hasn't missed anything, so he's done a good job with it.
Okay.
Yep, good.
Thank you.
The fastest Friday, maybe, for Andy Reid in the history of Fast Fridays.
Chiefs PR wants it faster.
Roughly 45 seconds, I think. But the injury report from yesterday, we'll hear from Samaje Perine and Xavier Worthy, but injury report from yesterday, Juju Smith-Schuster, Turk Wharton did not practice Wednesday and Thursday. Andy Reid saying Turk returned to practice today. It's good news. It's a good sign for him to play this weekend against the Denver Broncos. McCole Hardman limited the last couple of days, practice as well. Everybody else full participants yesterday and on in today for the Kansas City Chiefs. And as Andy Reid said, everybody's pretty much good to go outside of Juju and Turk Wharton. So we'll be hearing from Samaje and Xavier Worthy. Do we have him there? All right, so Samaje, is he up, heading in there? Samaje? Is it? Yep. Samaje?
How does it feel to be on the other side of this game than from a year ago?
It went fast, but it feels pretty good. I must say, it feels pretty good.
How was your time like with the Broncos?
It wasn't bad. It was a learning curve as far as Sean runs a unique offense in the sense of a lot of words, so you really have to lock in. But you know, it was fun. It's a good group of guys over there, and you know, I wish nothing but the best for them, at least until we play them. But other than that, you know, nothing but the best.
What was your reaction to when you were released from there?
It is what it is. People like young talent, and you know, I can't. They like what they like, and you know, that's what it is.
Does having the game add any boosted motivation, or do you just treat it as any other way?
Nah, boosted motivation can get you messed up just because you know you blow your gasket before you even play. So you got to keep it, you know, cool, calm, collective at all times.
For the time with the Chiefs here, I'm just curious your thoughts on what it's been like since Kareem has come into the room and how the dynamic has shifted a little bit.
The only dynamic shift is he's a lot less quiet, or a lot more quiet than what Pop is. You know, Pop is the heartbeat of the team. He's loud, he's out there. But Kareem, you know, he's like me. He's very quiet. So, you know, that's pretty much the only thing that's changed. And our ability to just, you know, with the injuries that we've had, just to pluck in pieces and, you know, keep it moving, you know, it kind of shows the genius of what Coach Reid can do, and you know what this offense can do, and how we've shifted to kind of more of a run-first team, whereas people, you know, are used to seeing Pat just air it out. But you know that's not what we are right now. But we continue to find ways to win.
What's your strategy when Travis has the ball in the open field and
all you can do is stay ready. You never know with him. So, you know, you just stay in phase, make sure he's going down with the ball and not looking at you to pitch the ball. So, you know, it all comes pretty quick, but if you stay ready, then you're good.
You mentioned Pop. You know, we don't talk to injured players until they're back in the mix. How would you say that he's doing it as far as his rehabilitation?
As far as I know, he's coming along really well. Yeah.
All good.
Now, one more thing. Just how about your observations on why this team is as successful as it's been so far this year? What is there a chemistry thing? What do you see about this team that makes it what it is?
I feel like it's mainly chemistry, you know, like you said, and everyone's ability to lock in, you know. I feel like it wouldn't be, what it is if, people are just worrying about themselves, worrying about self-accolades. But, I feel like overall the team's ability to just lock in and play the next play and play the next down, and having a great defense also helps with that because we have a great defense.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, there's Samaje Perine. Credit to the defense there at the end. No extra motivation to go up against Denver, team that he played with last year, and that released him this year. So, it is what it is. People like the young talent, and they like what they like, and now he's with the Chiefs. I bet he's pretty excited about the fact that he's not with the Denver Broncos right now. I bet he's
think he's good with that.
Are you pissed off at the Broncos? Hell no. Are you kidding me? They released me. I'm with the Chiefs now. I'm 8-0. I get to play on this team, back-to-back Super Bowl champs, as opposed to with the Broncos. No, I'm good. I'm good.
I asked. I was in the locker room, talked with Samaje Perine on Monday night, but also talked with Joshua Uche, and I'm like, so what's it like? You are the worst team in the NFL, like 2-7 team, and now you're on an 8-0 team. He goes, if anybody tells you they don't believe in God, they're lying to you. Like, I wake up one morning, I'm on an 8-0 team. It was great to hear because a lot of times guys would give you more of the player speak and be a diplomat there and not want to run down the situation and feel like they're above it. He was like, no, this is great. I went from 2-7 to 8-0.
Went to sleep, woke up, I'm 8-0, and
all of a sudden got 6 more wins.
Yeah, it's
one
weird.
One night of sleep, 6 more wins.
There you go. Let's hear from Xavier Worthy, who in his NFL career, professionally, regular season, has never lost a football game. He has never been on the losing side of a football game in his entire NFL career. Here's Xavier Worthy.
Xavier, since D-Hop's come here, how much have you tried to, pick his brain from a guy who's been around this league for so long and been as successful as he has?
Right. I try to pick his brain as much as possible without being super annoying. But I just ask him little questions how'd you go about this when you were this age and stuff like that. Just little things, just make sure I stay tuned with everything he went through.
How would you describe his impact on the room as a whole, just considering it is a lot of young receivers?
Right, just as calm and poised through times, even in the game. He was super calm, chill, relaxed. So when somebody's like that in your room and he's a vet, he's been there, made plays, it just makes everything easier.
Xavier, how would you kind of, in your own words, describe what the identity of this offense currently is? And does it match up with what you thought it would be when you first started playing here?
Right. Every offense has its flaws, but I feel like it's just learning periods for us. I feel like with us, our strengths are we go through everything in the game, the 4 minutes, the 2 minutes, the hurry up. So I feel like we're really good with all that, and I feel like when we build the chemistry, it's going to be even better.
That's it. Just one thing, I don't know if you've been asked this, but as you look at your own growth, what do you think the biggest things you've sort of broken through and the biggest challenges ahead?
Right. As a rookie, you don't really see a lot until you actually play in the game. So every game, I feel like I'm seeing more and more, and I'm getting more comfortable with what's thrown at me.
What in particular might be the thing that you're like, okay, this is my next step?
Just playing fast. Right now, I feel like it's just a little bit of thinking going through my head. I'm still trying to figure things out, but I feel like just playing fast.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
That's pretty interesting. The last part, we always wonder about players, and nothing slows a player down quicker than having to think while they're out there on the field instead of just reactionary. I know the play, I know where I'm supposed to go. Everything's quick and immediate and instinctual, as opposed to what's the next phase for you? What's the next thing to get better at? And it's playing fast. Well, I felt like that was sort of assumed when you got to Kansas City that you're going to be playing fast, but to the point of, he says, right now I'm still thinking. Right now there's a little thinking going on, and that next step of being out there and just simply play. That is interesting if there's still that element of thinking. Although Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes went out of their way to credit Xavier Worthy for running the route that he did, even though he was out of bounds on that first drive, to read where the defense was, and he adjusted his route to where the defense was. And then Mahomes threw the ball. He got a little lackadaisical, a little cavalier about where he was on the sideline. He'll learn from it. But it is interesting, at least from the standpoint that he recognized what the defense was and adjusted his route accordingly to where Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes were both like, yeah, he did the exact thing he was supposed to do, and that's why he was there open.
Well, I marvel at still how how aware a lot of those guys are when they're on the sideline, just where their feet are, how close they are. It's similar to like an outfielder where he knows the wall is, and obviously looking up at the baseball. I just usually those guys are better with their steps down. They're not taking regular steps. That they know that, okay, if I'm close or not, just let's chop this up. Let's drag a foot. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, that was pretty surprising that it was not a catch, that it was that sort of cavalier about it, of like it just turned around like, oh, wait, he actually did not get, oh, well, okay, and so that's out of bounds. That's incomplete. That's not just no longer a touchdown. That's incomplete.
I just keep going back to two positives. Mahomes is looking at him, and he's getting open. Yeah. As a rookie, that's the main thing right now, because that was all the concern last year. No one was getting open at wide receiver, right? No one was getting open.
And when they were, they would have trouble catching.
And honestly, it was the rookie last year, too.
So
Rice was the only guy.
I see a lot of positive. I know it's easy to be very negative on Xavier Worthy right now, but I'm trying to almost view it as a positive. The Chiefs don't really need him to be a superstar this year. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins. Juju's coming back. Hollywood's probably coming back at some point. So just the growth period and the fact he does get open, that means something to me.
I think he's
for the future of
He's a net positive this year. I think his WAR is high. I think he's I mean, the number of times he's gotten in the end zone, the number of big plays he's made, I think has exceeded maybe expectations, especially with the injuries and in all likelihood the more attention that's going to get paid his way. Just those two plays early on in that game were ones like, okay, I think those are ones you could easily turn around if you had him back.
And I wonder, like, Mahomes and Tyreek Hill were, on the same page, throughout their time here. And so it's not like, well, Mahomes hasn't really had this speed demon receiver before. But it is interesting how quickly he's been on the same page with DeAndre Hopkins' style of playing versus even in the game. Like, that was a good throw to Xavier Worthy. He's got to make the catch. But the other target later in the game, Troy Aikman says, they showed the all-22 and Xavier Worthy's out route. And he's like, that's got to be out early. He's like, oh, that ball's got to be right now. And then you see Mahomes sort of wait and then throws it. And he gets to the sideline, doesn't get the feet down, drops the ball, and Aikman was like, that ball's got to be thrown early with Worthy. Now, is that Mahomes getting used to Xavier Worthy still in that speed, whereas, well, Rashee Rice would be doing this, or DeAndre Hopkins is this, but he's had Tyreek Hill. So it's not like he hasn't been around a guy that, runs fast before. But the impact now for Xavier Worthy with DeAndre Hopkins can go back to being the guy that can impact and manipulate the defense to also help others. When the season started, my view on Xavier Worthy was not going to be production. It was going to be value over volume, where last year Rashee Rice had to have the volume because somebody had to catch the ball. Something had to break the window. Something had to smash the stereo. And so, they needed Rashee Rice to be that guy. This year, they had Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown, and Xavier Worthy didn't need to be that. Then he had to be that until they got DeAndre Hopkins. Because when Rashee Rice went down in the Chargers game, the targets for Xavier Worthy, so in that Chargers game, he got 4. The next 3 weeks, New Orleans, 6, 49ers, 8, Raiders, 8. DeAndre Hopkins plays 60% of the snaps, 2. He was getting 3 and 4. And then Rashee Rice went down, and Juju's injured. And then it jumped up to, okay, we've got to incorporate Xavier Worthy more into this offense. And it was 8 targets, 3 receptions, 6 targets, 3 receptions, 8 targets, 4 receptions, right? It wasn't an efficient, and it wasn't like these were huge plays down the field. Like the Chargers game had the huge play down the field, but you're talking about a long catches of 18, 8, and 16 with those, targets and receptions. And then in this game, should have been a long touchdown pass to Xavier Worthy. That is on him, obviously. But Hopkins and Kelsey were so good that they could use Worthy in ways that they had talked about using him when they entered the season, instead of, you're now forced into action, dude, and we're going to be throwing the ball to you 6, 7, 8 times in a game. They don't have to do that now with Hopkins being healthy, and hopefully Juju's back next week against the Buffalo Bills.
Well, you wonder, too, how many of those targets are, okay, this is a design play, he's the first read, and how many are like, no, he's number 2 and 3, maybe Juju was the first one here, and he's covered. I need to go to this next
and
release
Watson
guy.
hasn't won his matchup, and here we go.
And so, regardless, whenever those injuries happen, you're going to lean on him more, whether it's a design play for him or, okay, he's just the next read down the road.
Yep. He carried the ball twice in the game against the Bucks. had that 10-yard loss in the carry that he had. That was rough. That's sort of
you and I agree. We
ended that
just
drive.
Keep going to the sideline. Get that edge there.
Yeah.
Use your speed on that D end. Don't cut it up to where the guys are.
Yeah, that was rough. It's like the texting.
Well, I've always maintained Mahomes doesn't block anybody.
He's
like Kelsey.
blocker.
He can't block.
He's such a better catcher than he is a blocker.
You know what, Bo
He's
Nix?
he's a receiving quarterback,
receiving
not a blocking
quarterback,
quarterback.
But he's not, though. He hasn't caught a pass, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Bo
just
Nix has a touchdown reception.
Yeah, but-
Bo Nix, 9 games into his career, has done something Mahomes has not.
But what I love about Mahomes as a receiver is what he does for the other guys on the field. Like, he helps create separation with those guys on the field when he's out, getting a pass.
If I'm a DB and those few times a year where they send him out wide,
ignoring him,
at some point, like, what am I doing out here? Just to run a rogue quarterback
whoa.
blitz.
What?
Oh, I forgot he has 1 catch this year for 2 yards. Did you know why?
Yeah, his own.
His own.
Yeah.
So he technically has 2 catches in his career.
Well,
he caught one in 22 for 6 yards apparently.
His own.
But does he have a touchdown though?
No, he's
Wanya Morris does. Okay,
that's right.
Also a guy who creates space for other guys on the field in multiple ways.
By not being good, he lets Kingsley maybe play some.
One is a much better blocking receiver than anybody else on the Chiefs with blocking
give him credit
receivers.
for it.
He's the
not.
best blocking receiver that the Chiefs have.
In fairness, though, Mahomes is a yak guy. He does have 18 yards after reception in his career on the 2 that he is.
That's what he is. He
Big
gets,
yak guy.
Throw the ball to himself and then run. It's perfect. All right. So, I mean, he couldn't find anybody to throw the ball to. He started throwing it to himself.
What was the play? Was that in the opener this year where he got tipped and it was a jump ball to where like he could have easily caught it, but he knocked it down.
That's the 2-yard one we're talking about.
No, he didn't catch it.
No, he did catch it
to
keep
the
the clock
running.
running.
That's right. That's right.
To keep
that's
the clock
one.
running. Yep,
And that was against
smart.
the Ravens.
Oh, I gotta look that up.
Okay.
I didn't think it was that important to see who was against, but
that was the most.
It was one of those
important
early close wins I remember,
thing.
and he kept the
it was
clock
either that
going.
or the Bengals.
The
It was at home.
Yes.
And it was there was an open receiver. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll see who is lighting it up. We'll get some predictions, and then we got cuts before the show is over. More Zone next. Yeah,
Oklahoma State won. That would
be a surprise. Yeah. What's I mean, look, Seren was there in Lawrence yesterday, and talking with Goff and Leipold and Bill Self and everything, and it is a temporary pain for long-term gain in the booth and what's going on this year. That's a neutral site game tomorrow. I mean, Iowa State's going to bring tons of fans for that game. They might have more. Yeah, I mean, at best, it's a neutral site game. Whereas if it was in Lawrence, I'd like KU's chances a little bit more. But still, you're right. KU plays close games, so I would expect this to be close. And Iowa State isn't out there, dominating teams either.
But they have a lot more to play for. Iowa State has a lot of
Yes, they do.
The Big 12 aspirations right here. So I don't know how much you take that into account, if that matters or if that means they play tight.
Yeah, and I mean, you
KU technically is still playing for a bowl.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but
they got that on the line still, and they
can
play spoiler. They can beat BYU and Colorado.
Iowa State was playing for that last weekend. Looked horrible.
Yeah, and that was a home.
Which I'm saying,
Texas
maybe they look tight. Maybe
it's pretty tight. You see them play, man. That was pretty tight. It was pretty tight. It was pretty tight.
Not tight.
Oh,
loose.
I do wonder, the impact of playing at Arrowhead when we talk about it being a neutral site, because for Kansas, this is now, we've done this before, and now Iowa State's like, holy bleep, we get to play at Arrowhead. You know what I mean? If there's something to, it's new to them and sort of energizing and fresh, where KU's like, yeah, we've done this. This is our third, fourth time being here.
You can't help but think, okay, if they're playing all these games that they lost, UNLV at home.
Yes.
Was Illinois at home?
Illinois was on the road, but TCU was
at Arrowhead. And the other close one at Arrowhead. No, they killed Houston at Arrowhead.
Yeah, they destroyed Houston.
But you just wonder if you're playing those at home and all these close games, it's been a bounce of the ball in 5 of those games.
That UNLV game, especially when the ball literally bounced 5 times around 9 KU players.
Every KU player on the roster had a chance to get it until the only UNLV player on the screen came in and recovered it.
Yes.
That was so weird.
And then he left for more NIL money, I think.
It was a different one, but same thing.
It's about UNLV keeps winning without him. It's weird.
Weird. different guy, same reasons. And Mizzou, I don't know. Drew Pine has been decidedly ungood, as Cynthia Freeland said on Wednesday about which offensive line was she talking? Oh, the Houston Texans offensive line, that they are decidedly ungood. Yeah. Drew Pine has been decidedly ungood. Weak practicing, without, I'm assuming, Brady Cook out there, that maybe you get more out of him. Maybe you get closer to Drew Pine, Notre Dame, than Drew Pine throwing the ball to the wrong team.
It's so tough. I mean, when your offense, what's the strength that entire Missouri team is the receiver core, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the receiver core. Well, they can't do it alone, obviously. You need a guy getting it in their vicinity, and Brady Cook was that guy for the most part this season. But when you take that off the table, that offense becomes neutered, because it's not a run north-south, down your throat offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's dependent on spreading the field, getting those playmakers, and when you can't do that, you're in trouble.
So frustrating to watch without Brady Cook, because you don't have a chance. I'm sorry, but Drew Pine is. I mean, he wasn't even getting the vicinity.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with 2 scoops.
I know.
He's 2 scoops of ab.
Let me offer what could
Dog,
be.
he's 25 years old.
I'm aware.
Try J.R. Youngblood. Was it Youngblood? J.R. Blood, but he's bringing young
he's
blood.
A young blood.
Gosh, I'm so frustrated.
Here's my what could be glimmer of hope, and I will hold out hope that this could be the case. Drew Pine, both games he's entered, he was not the starter. He did not practice as the starter. It was against Auburn when Brady Cook got hurt, and he came in and he was terrible. Brady Cook came back. Against Alabama, Brady Cook started, and then Brady Cook left, and he went out there, and Brady
needs
Cook
a clean inning.
But Brady Cook also didn't have points on the board when he was there either.
No.
So
but Drew Pine hasn't thrown within 20 yards of a receiver.
But now I think we should give him benefit of the doubt now that he's had 2 weeks as you're the starter. Here is the offense we will design for you, because. I mean, maybe he forgot how to play quarterback since he was at Notre Dame. I don't know.
Looks like it.
He might have. I mean, the guy had, 22 touchdowns and 6 interceptions at Notre Dame through the course of an entire season. He's got 3 already from Mizzou. I don't know. Something, maybe there is an element of, okay, you know you're the starter. You go into this game.
But does he know he's a starter? Because it's still not official.
He would know he's the starter.
He would know by now.
He knows he's the starter. Whether the public knows he's the starter or not. If he's starting, he would know he's the starter by now.
Right.
Sure.
Maybe Brady Cook is the starter, and we'll find out tomorrow. But I think the line moving 5 points to Oklahoma is an assumption by the bettors and the money that Brady Cook is not playing.
Here's the good thing. You're at home, and Oklahoma's not good.
No.
Right.
They're a below-average team in the SEC. And so you don't have to play, if you're Missouri, you do not have to play your A-plus game. A B game could get it done. And I think that's maybe the ceiling for a Drew Pine offense.
To me, the offense is based on the offensive line being able to run the football consistently and then play off of Drew Pine from time to time on the run game and just throw it to Luther Burden or Theo East quickly out and then go back to Noel and Carroll. And then Noel and Carroll. And those guys constantly, hit a receiver out there, and then defense shut him down. Like, that's how you win against Oklahoma. Drew Pine's in the game.
Caden Green's also questionable for the game.
Well, why not?
I love these SEC injury reports, by the way.
The issue is Noel might be out again, too.
I know, right.
Yeah.
It's we don't know the injury updates until tomorrow at about 6:44. We'll find out. Who is lighting it up, everybody, huh? Let's see who's lighting it up. I'll start. I'll go. I'll just start. Who is lighting it up? Well, I mean, Lamar Jackson's leading in the MVP race right now, and he is absolutely lighting it up. He lit it up last week, but also in the last 4 games, he's averaging 285 yards passing. He's completing almost 77% of his passes in that time, and he has 14 touchdowns and no interceptions in the last 4 weeks. Lamar Jackson does. So, yeah, but, I mean, he has no rushing touchdowns, so does it even count? I don't know for Lamar Jackson. So he's lighting it up for me. There was a lot of people lighting it up last night on that offensive showcase there, but Lamar Jackson's been unreal the last 4 weeks. Go ahead.
I will stick with that game, and who's lighting it up, whoever thought it was a good idea, those Ravens helmets.
Oh, God.
Those were atrocious.
Oh, they looked like AI-generated video game helmets.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. I didn't say I liked them last night at all.
Did you like them?
No, not at all.
funny.
Nah, that's cool. It's
Those
fine.
were horrible.
Wasn't that the Edgar Allan Poe Raven?
Yeah, but
Raven?
it literally looks like they just slapped a sticker on the helmet and called it a day. Like, it was
Maryland,
brutal.
they love their state flag more than any other state flag.
It's a great flag. I'll give them that. It's a great flag.
Is it, though?
I guess it's a lot. It's a lot going on there.
It's kind of cool.
very
though.
busy.
It's like 3 or 4 different songs right there. And then they love their poet. They really love those two things.
Oh, I
their
get it.
poet and their flag.
But sometimes that does not make for a great helmet decal.
Yeah.
So whoever thought that was a good idea was lighting it up, and apparently Mick was for enjoying
It was
that
my
helmet.
idea,
I knew it
Sterling.
was Mick. Oh, my goodness. Mick, who's lighting it up for you?
Dylan Hooper. Do you know about this kid?
Oh, Dylan. He heard Dylan, and he got so excited, and then he heard Hooper.
He's a Dylan hardballer. He's
yeah,
not
that's
a
right.
Hooper.
Dylan Seamhead.
Well, Dylan Hooper plays soccer.
Oh, yes.
He is from Shawnee, and he plays for Stanford.
Yes.
So an ACC tournament, Notre Dame and Stanford in it for soccer. First of all, college soccer, along with high school, but college soccer counts down.
Yes.
Thank you. What a concept.
You can get, what's this, Mick? A buzzer beater?
You can.
What?
So
Is it when it leaves its foot or when it goes in the goal?
In the goal.
That's a good question. In the goal. This one didn't matter closely.
It was pretty close to mattering.
Very close. So with 12 seconds left, with the time stopped, right? They stopped the clock. 12 seconds left. Notre Dame had a free kick to tie it, and it's so funny. Of course, they have the wall.
It's 0. It's 1-0.
No, it's 2-1.
2-1. Like I said.
2-1 Stanford. Notre Dame free kick. 12 seconds left. I got the highlights. I'll show you. And so not only does Stanford have the wall, they have one guy laying down on the ground behind the feet. So when they jump, he
gets to block it.
Well, somehow this kid for Notre Dame gets a deflection, and it goes in the goal to tie it at 2 with 10 seconds left. So it's over,
What
right?
a great
it's
tie.
over, right? Well, instead, it's not over.
Well, it'd be a tie game.
Well, sorry, yeah, it's going to go to overtime or
it would have.
whatever. And so they kick it to the
Oh my
defender.
gosh! Past midfield,
Past
3,
mid-
2.
Oh!
Goes in with 1
It
second
goes
left.
in.
A
Dylan
buzzer
Hooper.
beater goal because
Keep
the
it going.
clock counts down.
The goal call was amazing. The announcer's like, I've been calling this sport for years and years. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
With 1 second on the clock, it finds the tiniest window. I believe the goalie could have put a little more effort into it.
I'm
but
going
it
to
goes-
assume the goalie can jump and touch the top of the goal.
Yes, because
he can
did
touch
not.
the crossbar.
I think he just got just didn't know where he was. And
That kid cannot play
thing
outfield.
Went in.
That was
beyond
incredible.
I'll tell you this: that goalkeeper ain't playing center field for me.
Nope.
He could not
No
track
kick. He
that
does
ball
not.
at all.
Much bigger ball too.
Oh my
and
god!
So Dylan Hooper went to school with my son, and they played baseball together. And Dylan stopped playing baseball to go play soccer.
Good choice.
Good choice, as it turns out.
Shockingly not
Well,
basketball.
he was so good. He didn't play for the high school team at Mill Valley. He played for the sporting development team. So he's a dude. He's at Stanford. He became more of a dude 2 nights ago because ESPN was running it. Went viral.
But why doesn't you're right because that made it so much more electric.
1 second.
Than
1 second. Yeah.
Then
he had to get it off
we
the
hit
foot
90 minutes. We're gonna have some more time after this
because there's no way they're stopping the game after that. They're going to kick off. They're going to let him have one more attack.
Yeah.
And then they'll blow
right,
it.
yeah.
Dylan, who's lighting it up for you?
Not, I don't know how to say lighting it up or what I'm going to say. It's more just paying homage to Ben Herbstreit, the dog, unfortunately, yesterday.
that
I
was
hate to
bad.
bring the mood down, but I do want to get this in to honor Ben because that was maybe one of the coolest things about college football, and now we don't have that. But he was lighting it up all the times he was on the sideline. All the videos that everyone posted yesterday were awesome, so, yeah.
No, I'm with you. That's a
Had
good
to get
one
it in there.
To pay a little
Good
tribute.
call.
And I got to mark
to
that
Ben.
now.
Yeah, that was cool. And Kirk Herbstreit then goes out there and calls the game. And
That's what should have been my bad.
Yeah.
That should have been lighting it up was Kirk Herbstreit
Yeah.
as well for doing the Thursday night
and I'll say
football game.
too, like I've been critical the last couple of years of Al Michaels because I think for the most part he's been collecting a check, and I know how good he is. But it's sort of like Chet Stedman on Rookie of the Year that every once in a while he can reach back and get his fastball. Al Michaels had his fastball last night. With that game and that importance and how good it was, you got an A+ Al Michaels game.
You finally got because you finally had a good game to
I know,
call.
but it was it was vintage Al Michaels in that game. That was a blast to watch that game last night.
Yeah, it was.
It was so good. All right, let's go around the room. Prediction: what do we think happens this weekend? Chiefs and Broncos. I am going 24-13. The Chiefs over Denver. Sterling.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a weird score because it's the AFC West and weird things happen.
Yeah,
I'll
they
go,
do.
I don't know if it's a scoregami or not, but 26-19 Chiefs.
I guess that's not.
Broncos,
26-19.
19 points is weird.
Weird.
Broncos still cover, but Chiefs win.
No, 26-19 is that is 7.
What's the spread?
7.5. Yeah. All right, Mick, what do you say?
No chance. It's 7.5. It's a lot closer than that. I'm gonna go 23. No, I like the 19. I'm going to go 22-19. How about that?
Yeah, now we're talking.
22-19.
Chiefs.
That's what the 49ers were leading by in the Super Bowl until that final drive in regulation to tie it up.
19 is so hard to get to.
22-19.
This is a weird number.
Dylan, what say you? What's the score on Sunday?
I'll go 20-17. Close game.
20-17. All right. I've got him winning by 11. Dummy. Sterling's got him winning by 7. Dylan by 3. Mick by 3. All right. We'll see what happens with that. We'll take a timeout. We will come back, and we'll get some cuts with the time left. All right, wrap things up here on this Friday edition. Hanging out with Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director here in the Zone on Sports Radio 810. The program's coming up next. They've got you till 4:30. A little KU pregame and then KU North Carolina at 6.
What's our out time? Since I set these clocks perfectly now.
2 minutes. Let's hear the cuts then.
We into like 55?
Hear the cuts. Cut it up. Just go to sleep. I mean, I have no idea what that might be like to be so close to the exact score, whether that matters or not. But you were spot on, though. Outside of a garbage time touchdown, it was essentially the score that you thought it would be.
Yeah, you asked what I did. I just sat in the corner, spun a plate, and stared at it.
I love Kendall.
I hope they murder the Bengals.
Murder?
Yes.
Wow.
Ray Lewis style. Allegedly.
Oh my God. Get in the limo.
Jake.
Oh, God.
Last night's game.
A steel shaft. If you're using a graphite
Graphite?
shaft,
Ooh.
I think if you're using a graphite shaft, are you okay? That's a real question.
Yeah, maybe like a wood. You know,
I love the
an
confusion.
actual
Yeah.
wood. Maybe that'll
The old
stop
school
it.
wood.
I can use my niblick.
That's a real question.
Well, it's a real word, too, niblick. Look it
Real
up. Read a
question.
book.
If you're using your shaft, that's a real question.
It's like a flip of a switch where it's like he'll be ramming you for like 10 minutes and then.
Who was that?
It was Hunter Dickinson yesterday. So.
Oh, yeah.
Just a flip of the switch. Keep rolling.
I got to give a shameless plug, Jason. I have a weather podcast. Look up West Period. I forgot the name of the podcast. I'm so stupid. It's so new. The Kansas City Weather Report is what it's called. It's on all.
Oh, how long did it take you to think of that?
Follow.
Keep going. Thank you, Mick. You're the man. Appreciate it.
Anytime you're at a bar, even if you're not on the radio, I will come.
I thought actually that was me saying thanks, Mick, and we're taking off. Yeah. Any more left?
Who's the best offensive mind in the NFL? There's going to be a healthy response of Andy Reid. And if you go out and poll different people, like you like to do.
That was Todd Lebo. He was asking Todd Lebo to ask people about who the best offensive mind is. So I think that's what he was meaning.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Hey, have a good weekend, Mick.
Thanks.